Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday and it's noon, it must mean I'm going away with my wife and hence need to do this show quick and early. And it's time for some Warhammer Weekly. So, Tyler, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
You got just a guy here with you for a quick show.
That's right.
Excited.
I brought in the expert on doing quick shows. We've got Tyler. It's the middle of the day. The sun is out. It's a bright, beautiful day. And boy, we've got nothing but exciting stuff today. We are going to be talking General's Handbook. In fact, we're going almost straight into that. That was going to be the whole show. We were going to cut everything else. But no, in fact, then they dropped Battlescroll Gallet. Gallet? I'm going to go with Gallet. It sounds cooler.
Sure.
On us, and we can't not talk about that. Tom will be joining us in just a few moments. He's late, and I'm not waiting. So here we go. All right, so starting off right away, new Battlescroll Gallet. Can't be more excited about this. This is everything I wanted, almost. Like, there's a few other little things that are missing, but for the most part, this is a solid A work. I would even say A plus. We're still in the right cat. Like, all the changes I asked for are more or less here. We're doing the right things. We're changing war scrolls. We're changing rules that are busted. We're getting things fixed. The hunt is dead. Long live Battlescroll. Okay, so here we are. We're back to good Battlescrolls like our December update. So yeah, good stuff. Big changes. I'm just gonna roll through them, and then Tyler, I want your hot takes. Okay. Stormdrake Guard. No more moving in the hero phase. Exactly how it always should have been. Why did this unit just randomly move in the hero phase and charge in the hero phase? Was silly.
Yeah, when you can translocate them and then move in the hero phase.
Yeah. And then have them breathe for free and then also charge and yeah, it's like it's a hat on a hat. It made them impossible to point. I just want big cool dragons that are like cool models that act like Warhammer models, and I'm fine with that. And this will eventually let them actually hit a reasonable points value, whatever that happens to be, which is good. Thunderbolt Volley, you can no longer do it on a reinforced unit, so no large packs of adjudicators or no large packs of long strikes. Great. Good. Positive change. I would also point out the same change should be applied to Marathi and the bow snakes.
Like bow snakes.
Yep. The Marathi's command ability should have the exact same thing for shooting. That is one missing here. They didn't do that. That's one of the few missing items, but that's okay. I think Doc is going to have a lot of other incentives to not just play Marathi and the bow snakes, but still.
Oh yeah.
The Living City change, great. You can't just like show up 9 inches away and then move your whole move toward them.
Sure.
Great, good. Basically still keeping its 9-inch bubble. So great, fantastic, positive change. Seraphon. The Coalesce change, this is one of the ones that was like kind of a little head scratchy to me because only Saurus, I'm going to call him Kroiger because it makes me laugh, and monsters get it now. No more skinks. Your heroes, your little skinky-doo heroes and your little skinks and skink type things don't get it. Fine. I'm not sure it's actually going to make much of a difference on many of the Thunder Lizard lists, which tend to run heavy Bastillodon, Engine of the Gods, that kind of stuff, but it's something. I guess we'll see whether or not it's enough. It might be like the weakest ones.
Totally. It's Seraphon. They're supposed to be able to, get off scotch-free for the most part. With any nerfs.
That thick skin is just as good at resisting nerfs as it is damage, yes.
Yeah, I saw your point about that,
yeah. Okay. So, Chaos, their changes. Legion of the First Prince, Be'lakor lost his ward save. So, cool stuff. The points changes for Slaanesh. This is actually, I'm going to leave these to the side for a moment. I'm very excited about it, but it's going to come as part of our points change discussion later on in the General's Handbook. This is actually just a cleanup because the printed book has wrong numbers in it for a couple armies. The PDF is correct. So just that kind of stuff. Blades of Corn. The long requested change, years in the making, is here. No longer does your blood tithe pool dump when you use an ability. Goodness sakes, what a great change. So there you go.
Indeed,
Here's
blood
one.
for the blood god.
For the bug. Yep. Here's one for you, Vince. So, hi, Tom.
Hey,
Are we able to double dip on blood tithe?
For the non-summon, I believe technically right now you can, because they didn't add text to stop that. Summoning, I believe, has in the text has a thing that says you can't summon more than one unit around. But the like spend 2 points to do this thing and 5 points to do this thing or whatever. If you had 7, you can at the moment double dip one.
No. Actually, it says once per round you can do this. Is the language of it?
No, it doesn't say that.
The trick is in this it says remove this text, right? And they only cut this. In there, it says once per round, do this. Probably you're right. I don't know. Yeah. Because the summoning has the once per round hard restriction. I know that.
Right.
So.
Yeah. So that's it. In the app. Let me say it this way. It says, I'm pretty sure in the app it says like once per round is the starting text.
The parent text.
Right.
Yes.
The parent's text. Yeah.
Yes. So if that's meant to apply to all, then yes, we're good to go. I need to read it. I'll be honest, I didn't have a chance to go dig into it. So if that's true, I think that's good. I knew the summoning had a once cap on it.
Which I'm pretty sure that it happens in the hero phase, because all of these are happening in the hero phase.
There's a start of the hero phase thing. They specifically create an exception in the text for the other one, for the later one.
For the summon one?
For the unbind.
Okay, well, what I was going to say is what's fascinating about that is that if the summon is at the start of the hero phase, that means that you can summon and then move, right?
I mean, dude, I don't remember every rule from Blood Tithe summoning.
No, it's
I'm
fine.
Sorry, Tom.
It's
if you
fine.
wanted the answer to that, you have the same app we do.
No, I say that
and
to say
generally
it's
you're not.
exciting.
Generally, no. Like, I mean, if they don't have it, like, look, if it were to be missing, there's no way you would actually use that because you don't summon and move. It's just a general flat rule, right? Like, look, you can be like,
summon in
the
movement phase.
If you summon in general, things don't get to move. Like we know this is the rule. They write it into everything. If they left it off here, it would be obviously a mistake. And if you tried to corner shoot that obvious mistake, you're a bad person instantaneously.
Yeah, it's like teleporting and moving. You're just a bad person if you used it.
Correct. Exactly. That's why I'm a bad person. And Constantino said no, the summon is at the end of the movement phase. Look, I
it is?
it.
Okay. Yeah.
There you go. Cool. All right, let's keep moving. Flesh Eater Courts. Everybody gets their ward now. You don't need to have a hero nearby. Good stuff. Great. Good quality of life change. I'd be fine with most death stuff working this way. So, and Constantinos is saying it doesn't say you can do it once. So we got a little showdown here.
Maybe I
then
misread it.
The Ossiarch Bone Reapers. Again, a very, very positive change. The Immortus Guard and the Necropolis Stalkers can both now, your big boys, your big choppy boys, can now be battle line if they are Mortisans. If you have a Mortis in general, sorry. Fantastic. Great. A+. Love those big dudes. Love that they can now get on in there. They've got some other positive things happening with them, given their base size and all of that in the GHB. So good stuff there. Now we come to some real exciting ones. In my mind, Grand Alliance Destruction. That's right. We got good changes for everybody except Ironjawz, which is fine. Ironjawz don't need anything. In fact, they might have needed a little bit of a nerf that they skated out here. They're probably the other ones who skated from a nerf here, who maybe should have had one. Yes, thank you, Strength Hammer. Yeah, Vince, going to be a quick show today. Got a hard stop. Tom, let's get as granular as possible into the nonsense. Thank you, Chuck. Thank you, Chuck, for pointing out the unreasonableness of my co-hosts. Grin and Blades, not visible to enemy models more than 12 inches away. Fantastic change. Cool. And then the Bone Splitters, it's just 6s or double taps across the army. Thank you. No more min unit size. Wonderful change. Beautiful, beautiful change. Big Stabbers back on the menu, can now 6 to double tap. Why wasn't this how it was written originally? I don't know, but here we are. These are, and then Gloomspite gets, so many exciting things. Goblins can rally on a 4-up in the light of the moon. That's probably too good. That should be a 5-up. I'm just going to say that. That's too much. I generally think there shouldn't be any rallying on a 4-up in the game, by the way. This is just a general rule. We'll talk about that later on. Like, we shouldn't be doing rallying on a 4-up in this game. That's too much rallying. But
George Marcella sent out a tweet with a little photo, like rallying 9 bow snakes or something, 9 snakes, and she had like 8 out of 9 4-ups.
Right. And, again, but I'm okay with it for goblins. If anybody would break the rule, then it's goblin hordes, right? So, fine.
I mean, it's literally going to feel like the shrine, and you're going to get to this. It's going to feel like Gunbad. Now, like on that if you'll remember it, it was in Warhammer Online, it was the dungeon where all the goblins just continued to pour out. Like you just keep drawing aggro, and they would be unending because of the other rule change.
Yes, correct. Well, one more before we get there, which is Moonlit Hide, which you get +1 to save for your trolls when they're in the light of the bad moon. Cool change, good. They're supposed to be your tough boys, and they weren't really as tough as they should have been, so this is a positive change. And then, yes, the Bad Moon Loon Shrine, Effigy of the Bad Moon. Gloomspite Gits units are affected by the light of the Bad Moon while they are wholly within 12 inches of this terrain feature. And there was much rejoicing because that means you actually have an allegiance ability in round 1. How exciting! Obviously, we hope that fall will bring us a Gloomspite Gits book update. We have 2 destruction tomes coming. So we're either not getting giants or not getting ogres or not getting Gits. Place your bets now.
My bet is on ogres and Gits.
I mean, we'll see. Okay. And then yes, Howard Hoven said, "Don't forget the Battle Line Hobgrot bit." Yes, you can now also make your little Hobgrots, Battle Line, 1 unit of them for every 1 unit of Gut Rippers you have. So cool, good stuff all around for the forces. I think Destruction was the big winner in my mind for this. It shows how much help Destruction needed. But this is great. I cannot praise this enough. There's a couple misses, like I said. Morathian the Bowsnake should have the same restriction as Thunderbolt Volley. Maybe Ironjaw's needed a little touch there as well. But really, this is doing what we've been saying on this show forever. Change the War Scrolls, change the rules, fix the things that are broken, buff the things that don't work. And we did it.
Yeah. There's also some secondary effects for Gloomspites that are really awesome. Dave points this out in chat. Is that in the Light of the Bad Moon, your wizards are all +1.
Yeah.
And so actually it gives you functionally arcane terrain near your terrain.
Yep.
Which moves like some of your Spider Gots to like +2 to cast, which is huge.
It's great. It is just such a positive change for this army. Frankly, by the way, whenever they get their new book, whenever the Gits in their new book, this should just be how the
new book,
the shrine works. And then also fix maybe that the moon, that it works in a slightly different, not total jank way as well, right? Like we can do both. So at any rate, good stuff. Fantastic changes. Round of applause. Thank you to Matt, who's the new lead. He's interviewed in the article about it. I'm glad to see that all the feedback and stuff that's been given was well taken. I like these changes. These were all positive. Yeah, great work. Like I have nothing but praise for this, and this is how these kinds of things should be addressed. So, yep. Okay. Awesome stuff, folks. Let's get into it. Here we go. With these are going to herald a lot of changes, but we've got to seat these changes into the world they live in, right? It's not just these armies and units. They don't exist in the void. Of course, they exist in a meta. And Tyler, that meta, it just changed.
It's just new.
Is changing.
All of it. All of it's new. The world we live in.
Yep. So, okay. New General's Handbook 2022 to 2023 Season 1. I'm going to get this out of the way right out of the gate, okay? Which is, I do not want this same level of change that was in this book showing up in whatever book we're getting in December.
Yes.
Okay? Do we all agree with that?
100%.
This is a big set of changes. This is really doing a lot with the meta and how units play, and I have no problem with it. Okay? As it exists here. This kind of thing should not be on a 6-month cycle. This is a year cycle at best. And even that is going to be hard for some people. Okay? So, what I would like to see in the Season 2 is maybe like some new battle plans. This is still the same battle pack, but maybe here's some additional battle plans. And, here's some other ways to play in this current season in Gillette, right? Like, here's a neat Triumph and Treachery thing, or here's a multiplayer thing, or whatever. That would be great, right? Continue on all the core things. We have very minor stuff and alternate play methods. If that's what comes in December in Season 2, then I'm happy. And that's great, and we're doing all the best things with these 2 GHBs a year, and they're delivering value. If we show up with a GHB that's a completely new battle pack that takes all this and throws it in the bin and we start over fresh again, way too fast. That is breakneck. Okay. Right? Do we all
agree? Yeah,
agreed.
Absolutely.
Agreed. I've long said that 6 months is too fast.
Yeah, for this level of change.
Yeah.
Right. That's the key.
I mean, I would even say, well,
yeah, like I said, the thing to do would be to provide alternate play methods. Give us a cool multiplayer pack in the fall. We're still missing that. Where is that? Give us a teams pack. Give us a Triumph and Treachery update, right? That kind of stuff. That's value. All right.
yeah.
That's what we
If it were me, we would get a sweeping GHB in the summer, and in December you'd get a sweeping teams pack.
Right. Oh,
Like
the other
that.
important. Yeah. I completely agree. I didn't mention it, but the only thing that other thing with just real quick on Galley with the Battlescroll is the hunt is dead. There's no more hunt bonus points, and good. I kind of mentioned it offhand, but that when I say the hunt is dead, I mean there's no more like bonus points and all that stuff. Okay.
Help murder it at Adepticon. Great.
I
Good work.
can only hope so. From hell's heart, I stab at thee. Okay, so the game is still the same. By that, what I mean is like, this is still the same game. This is
You
still
roll dice.
Warhammer. You're still rolling dice. You still move. It's still phases are all still the same. That like at broad strokes, a lot of this is still the same. But from a meta perspective, this is going to feel very different in how the units interact, and it's going to undercut a lot of your expectations. This is very driven by the narrative. So we've moved from Thondia southwest into Galley. And now we're in this tunnel land, and so a lot of the battle plans get driven by this, like, everybody's moving underground, they're in these big tunnels, and stuff like that. This does change some of the fundamentals of unit quality.
Yeah.
Right? For those who aren't familiar with the Battle Pack thing or haven't talked, if you've missed the shows where we've talked about this in the past, keep in mind, things like the battle plans and the battle tactics and the grand strategies, these are derivative of the battle pack. You can use any of different battle packs. For example, Season of War Thondia has its own battle pack, right? And has its own derivative, all of that. So this is a new battle pack. All the old GHB core battalions, battle tactics, those are all gone. Monster season is over. Getting bonus victory points because you killed a monster, gone. Making your monster fight at the top of its profile, gone, right? All that stuff is gone. Okay. All right. So this seems to want to point you toward an infantry meta. However, just as last year it was the monster meta, I'm putting hard finger quotes on that. That may not be how things work out again. Okay.
Yeah.
And overall, it is an interesting set of rules with some very welcome quality of life changes, but some big question marks come along with this, as we'll get into. So, gentlemen, your overview items. Anything else I missed here? Anything else you want to add to this? Tyler, hit me first.
I mean, just at a high level. So clearly they're trying to go for, once again, a bit of a yin-yang orientation, right? And so the question will be, how well balanced is that going to end up? Where the yin is the overall expressed design intent of meta. More models, more wounds. And then the yang is your damage dealers, bounty hunters, core battalion, double damage, your monsters that are now having a free reign on Monstrous Rampage. This really helps your sort of mid-size infantry, especially 32 mils, 40 mils, 50 mils, mid-size to elite infantry, and the damage that they can deal. So we will see. I've had a hard time reading this on paper, and all of this relates to the battle plans. I think it's intriguing. I'm just not sure yet whether the balance there is there in terms of what they're hoping for.
and so everybody understands, we're going to dig into what we see as the consequences of this. Like, we're not going to, there's been plenty of shows that have talked about just what are the rules. We're going to cover them, but we're really going to focus on like the data synthesis here. Try to put this together. What does this actually mean? What are the incentives? What's the analysis? That's going to be our focus in this show. So we're going to dig into this, folks. Okay. Tom, what about you?
I'm excited.
Okay.
Like, that's all I got. Like, I'm both excited and terrified because there's so many variables moving that, like, this really is a new game. And lists are completely different. And I need to like internalize the data, and I'm still in the process of doing that before I really feel comfortable like saying this is the new king or this is yada yada. And in fact, I think that it feels like this may even be too big of a set of changes. Just in general,
I understand.
That's my gut. Is that in general, even like let alone 6 months. Just per year, this seems like such a big change.
It's big.
Yeah.
It's big, no doubt. So let's actually get into what these are. So let's talk about the battle pack. And as Ghost Button pointed out, yes, you can play under any battle pack. Like, you don't have to use this new battle pack. If you don't like all this change, you can just keep using the core rules battle pack that's presented in the book and play with those grand strats and battle plans and stuff like that, which, by the way, I'm not opposed to. Like, it's a perfectly fine way to go. Okay. All right, the battle pack, with one of the best pieces of art they've ever had in the history of Warhammer here. All of this initial stuff is still the same as what you experienced in the last GHB. By that, what I mean is we've had no fundamental changes to, the points limit, unit limitations. Still 1 to 6 for leaders and 3 battle lines and 0 to 4 behemoths and so on. The faction and battlefield roles and battalions, the allied units, your army roster, and your pitched battle plans. Like, the battle plans themselves are different, but the way you pick them, the way you decide who goes first, the way you deploy, terrain, all of that is still the same.
Yes.
Okay. Same as the last battle pack. None of that has changed. Okay. Let's get to the special rules. Like, I'm not going to waste time on stuff that's exactly the same. It's all the same. It's what you think it is. Right? The standard match play stuff. We have these 3 core new rules that came in here. And we're going to go through them quickly. Friendly battle line units that have a wounds characteristic of 4 or less and do not have mounts, so 4 wounds or less, and no mounts, are Galatian veterans. Okay? Or GVs, as we will call them very frequently in this presentation. I've heard galley vets a lot. I've heard gelato veterans. Lots of fun things going on. I'm just going to say GVs. At the start of each battle round, each battle round, not just the third like Seismic Shift in the last battle pack. At the start of each battle round, after the players have determined who will take the first turn, the player who will take the second turn can pick one objective on the battlefield to be the proving ground until the end of that battle round. The same objective can't be picked as the proving ground more than once per battle, so you burn it. Once you pick it, it's done. And only one objective can be marked as the proving ground at any one time. Only models with the Galatian Veterans keyword can contest an objective marked as the proving ground. Okay? So, effectively, it's OBSEC of a kind for all your Galatian Veterans. The person who goes second gets to pick an objective and say, only these GV units can claim that thing. So if I have 3 Mega Gargants standing on a point, counting as 60, right? And you have 5 Dum-Dums who happen to be galley vets, they will steal the point. They will take it. They contest, the other guys don't. Okay? All right. And then the Bonds of Battle, which feels like it should be a core rule change, but hey, here we are. When a model with the Galatian Veterans unit makes an attack with a melee weapon, you can target an enemy unit within a half inch of another model from that Galatian Veterans unit instead of using the weapon's range characteristic. If you do so, the attacking model must be within half inch of another model from its own unit that is within half an inch of the target. Effectively, it's 40k fighting. And basically your, in simplest terms, your big guys with 1 inch reach, so 32 mil, 40 mil, 50 mil base people who hated fighting in 2 ranks, because they just didn't get to attack can now fight normally.
Yeah. It feels good. It's very fast. I had to sort of subconsciously recalibrate pattern recognition in terms of how many one could get on the pile-in. I had that come up just because, it's like you've got 6 however many years of not thinking about a back rank getting in.
Oh yeah, only like 2-3 guys are going to be able to touch me. Nope, 7. It's like, whoa.
That was interesting the other day. Yeah.
So let's talk about what I want to walk this through in order, everyone.
Sure.
By the way, Lockjaw, the show was just early today. Yes. Here we go. Let's do this in order. Okay. So those are the 3 rules. Before we get into, we're going to talk consequences of that in a moment. Okay. But first I want to set our universe. Who are these Galatian veterans? Who are the GVs in our neighborhood? Okay. Here is the list. This list is people who either are or could be, because they can become battle line, Galatian veterans. Okay. So, this is the list in Chaos, Death, and Destruction. We're going to come back to this list and talk about our big winners and big losers. There are some faux show. And then here is your order list. Order has as much almost as the other 3 armies combined.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So lots of potential Galatian veterans. That is the key here, right? Because really a lot of infantry in this game with 4 wounds or less can be either are or can become battle line under certain circumstances.
Yep.
Right. So we have a lot of different potential here. All right. By the way, everyone watching, hit like for Gelato Veterans or whatever, or just like for the show. Don't forget to hit like. It helps other people find it. So, yes, Electman says hot GVs in your Grand Alliance looking for a good time. That's right. That's what these folks are. Okay, so this is our universe of who could be these things.
Yep.
All right. Now, let's talk about the consequences of the 3 rules we read there and what it seems to be telling us to do. Okay? Number 1, this is a compulsory thing. This isn't optional. Right? What I mean by that is if you've got a battle line unit and it meets the requirements, i.e. 4 wounds or less and not mounted, it's Galatian veteran. You don't have a choice in that matter. It just is.
Sorry,
Okay.
libertarians.
Yeah.
I couldn't help myself. Sorry.
No.
It's all right. This is the redistribution of veteran status. If in your army, you can control whether the unit is battle line or not, then you can control its GV status.
Yep.
So something being battle line if has a really powerful button you're going to be able to hit in your list building in determining are these things GVs or not.
Right. And sometimes you are not going to want to hit that button.
Absolutely. Absolutely right. Yep. The Proving Ground mechanic, as well as some of the battle tactics later, seems to indicate, like, if this battle pack was just those 3 rules, okay, it would really seem to be pointing to the fact that they want you to take a lot of these. Lots of infantry, lots of these guys, right? Lots of these 4 wound or less unmounted people.
Yep.
Okay. I would argue, however, that the first 3 rules actually benefit monstrous infantry and 32 mil heavy infantry more. Almost just because of that last, like, battle bonds thing, which, by the way, that should just never go away. It'll be really sad if people are super excited about those things. And then that rule just goes away. So let's just do that. Because they now have a better ability to fight and maximize their actual damage potential.
Yep.
Okay. Now, we'll get into who is good galley vets and not in a later slide. Don't worry, it's coming. But we've got to look at the whole picture of the thing before we get into that, okay? But relevantly here that's important is they're clearly pushing us toward infantry, but there's also a heavy incentive on these bigger infantry bases these monstrous infantry. They're absolutely in this conversation. So we're not just talking about like one wound horde dudes. That's important, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything I miss? And oh yeah, access to GVs is not equal across the armies. Not even close. Some have a ton, and it's like almost extremely compulsory that your battle line are going to be that. Some can dodge it completely and take 0. Like very easily, and in fact their default lists might have 0. So it is very yin yang on this. All right. Anything I missed here, gentlemen?
Pretty good to me.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is where we stand right now. But of course this isn't all the rules. Right?
Right.
Because there are more rules. Let's keep going. So we have 2 additional things here. We have the Gaze of Gur, a spell with a casting value of 7, so a relatively tough cast, and a range of 12 inches. You get to pick 1 enemy unit within range invisible to the caster. When determining the number of models in that enemy unit that are contesting the objective, your opponent must have that number, rounding down. So it is a sap of the unit's count on contesting an objective. You have a realm command that I'm not going to read because it's basically worthless. It will occur 1 in every 100 games. Some expert player will use it to win in like round 5 of something because they remembered it existed. But otherwise it does nothing. And then these 2 core battalions. Expert Conquerors and Bounty Hunters. So Hunters of the Heartlands and Alpha Beast Pack or whatever, they're gone. And they're replaced by these. And these are a big deal. We'll talk about the implications of these 2 in a lot in just a moment. But to get out what the rules are, Galatian veteran units only in Expert Conquerors. Each model in this battalion counts as 3 models for the purposes of contesting objectives. Whoa. Okay. So that's big. That's big objective capture on Galatian veterans. Up to 3 units can go in it, requires 2. Must be GVs. Bounty Hunters. If the target of an attack made with a melee weapon, melee only, by a model in this battalion is a Galatian veterans unit, add 1 to the damage characteristic of that attack. Woo! Okay. Everybody's War Chanter buffed fighting GVs. Okay, let's talk consequences of all of this.
Yep.
Because this is big. This, to me, these 2 battalions are the most impactful part of this entire rule set, and they make it the hardest to read and predict what's good and what's not.
Yep. It's the yin yang of it. Yep.
Okay. So, the Realm spell and the Realm command, just to get this out of the way. The Realm spell is fine. It's short range and will sometimes allow you to take an objective by walking, standing, retreating. It basically gives you incentive not to fight, because you sap a unit so you know it's at half strength, and then you walk on with your dudes and auto take the objective. Cool. Fine. Well, there's a standing FAQ that needs to be sent in as to how it interacts with single heroes, monsters, Mega Gargants. Like, does the 1 Mega Gargant count as 0 Mega Gargants now and hence contribute none of his 20? Does the 1 hero who counts as 2 now count as 0 because it does say rounding down? So hence they don't contribute their 2. They only contribute 1. Like, what happens there? So
it's a mess. Yeah.
It needs clarification with how it works with those alternative capture people, basically. Anybody who has an alternative count capture needs to happen there. Single figures with that, I should say. And the Realm command is near useless, so who cares? All right, let's talk about these core battalions. Just as with the previous General's Handbook, you can't take these more than once. Their bonuses are massive. This is the death of the 1-drop. Like, 1-drop Battle Reg has been the go-to for most of 3.0 so far. And clearly the way that they've decided to fix that is to make 2 other battalions that are so good that don't have the unified that you feel largely compelled to put them in your force. Now, there'll still be 1-drop around. People will still take it, and we'll talk about that as counterplay later on. But this is the death, in my mind, of 1-drop being the majority take. Okay? Not completely. It's not like you're not going to see it. You will see it. But right now, Battle Reg is like head and shoulders. It is easily the majority battalion take. It will not be that after this GHB.
Yeah. I don't think proving Proving Ground I've had a hard time reading so far in the initial 6 or 7 games. I don't think it's going to be enough on its own to incentivize low drops. What might be in some instances with some builds are some battle tactics and some battle plans, which we can get into later, particularly with alpha bunkering, alpha blocking strategies in some of these battle plans.
Yep. Yeah, there is definitely still, like, it's interesting because the one drop is still going to be in the discussion.
Yep.
Right? It absolutely will, and you will still see one drop armies. I'm just saying it won't be the only sort of like, this is the good way to go, quote unquote, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
Everyone is excited. Like, this is the part where I have to be a parade rainer. Okay? And I have to say, everyone's excited about what this means for their troops. Like, I've seen so many people like, oh, my sweet troop can now fight with 2 people because of, Battle Brothers, Bond of Battle Brothers or whatever. Or, in Bounty Hunters, these troops are going to be amazing or whatever. And I'm like, but
sweet,
are they?
Sweet summer child.
Yeah, I'm like, your bad troop got slightly better, but the good troop got great. Okay, like, this rising tide is going to lift all boats. Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean it will equally lift all boats. There is going to be inequity in how this is distributed, but there's certainly the rich are often going to get richer here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
There aren't a lot of terrible units that these rules alone will be like, it went from terrible to great. You're not going to move from 2 to 9 very often.
But what I'll say is this, like, I think you'll see an inordinate increase actually in cavalry units, because in general cavalry units had more attacks than like base troops.
Yeah,
sure.
And so when you're increasing all of those attacks by 1, including all the mount damage, suddenly some of the math really moves on some of those units.
Well, this is what's interesting, because it is definitely it's going to hit a lot of units differently, and we'll bust into this because you're making a good point, Tom. The cavalry units in general just got really interesting for a lot of different reasons, even though we haven't mentioned a thing about them yet. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, they don't benefit from any galley vets. Largely, they didn't care most of the time about things like bonds of the Battle Brother bonds anyways, because they weren't generally fighting in 2 ranks. They usually came in, a lot of cav comes in 5s, right?
Right.
And so,
but now everybody gets to attack, and oftentimes against GVs are going to be at +1 damage.
Right. And are not GVs themselves. So, like, there's going to be a lot to unpack here, not just in what the words say, and that's why I want to focus. That's why we're focusing on the analysis today, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not just in what the words say; it's in what what then happens. What are the results of that, right? And things like Cav are going to get wildly affected by this in their value, even though not a word, for all intents and purposes, has been mentioned about them yet. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And realistically, Cav, like, even frontage changes, right? Because now you can basically go in with 2 models. No, technically you could go in with 1 model touching and get all 5 models attacking.
Well, you remember, they're not galley vets, so they don't get the Battle Brother bond thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Interesting.
That's what I'm saying. They largely didn't have to care, though, because with Cav, you usually in 5s, you had old-style coherency, you usually running 5 across in some way. Right? That's what I'm saying. They dodged these rules, but it didn't matter. Yes, you're not going to like a 3-2 formation or something like that, because you don't get the Battle Bronze. But, okay. But, again, regardless of the fact they benefit from none of this, their value still actually changes.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Because most of the time they're also high mobility, which is really important.
Yes. Okay. We're going to break these down battalion by battalion. Curran, you seem very concerned about this, but I'm not worried about LRL, honestly. I think they're like an okay out of this. I'm not sure this is going to make all the strong stronger. I think that some of the rich will get richer, but you'll see how we break into this.
I think in general this hurts LRL because they don't have an option but to have GV units.
Right.
Like most of the time for their wardens.
And, I think some of the rich are going to get richer. I think some of the medium are going to go up. I think some of the poor were helped a lot more by what just happened in the Battlescroll than by anything here. Okay.
Yep.
Expert Conquerors. Let's get into the full 1st Battalion. Okay. which is Galatian veterans only. And here is my read on expert conquerors. The best expert conquerors are those units that are GV, but exceptionally tough, hard to remove, or easy to restore. The other high-quality candidates are those that are highly mobile, or can ambush, or are the deck chair ranged guys who want to just like sit in the back. They never need to move. They're going to hold objective in your territory. We'll talk about Fire Slayers. I don't think that's true, Curran. I don't think Tom agrees with you on that. That Fire Slayers are screwed in this new world.
No, actually,
Fire Slayers have a lot of play in this new world.
I've been hearing that a lot. I don't get
as
that
a
at
brief
all.
aside, current the answer is you don't make your Hearthguard your battle line. You utilize your Oryx, and the list that I've been promoting actually does that, and it actually solves a bunch of problems. So
we'll do a future show with lists, but like actually showing how we manipulate some lists here. But yes, like expert conquerors, if they can be like a big unit of back ranged guys. So this is where like, yeah, sure, we'll mention Sentinels here, right? If you've got a battle line Sentinels unit, but also like Judicators or somebody sitting in the back in a pack who can hold an objective and counters a lot. But also just like ambushers are incredibly powerful. So the three examples I gave over here are Blight Kings, especially like a 10 pack of Blight Kings. Okay.
Yep.
Chain Rasps, who I am all in on as expert conquerors. These guys are just value in expert conquerors because it's easy to run them in 20s. They're counting as 60 in this battalion.
And all of them are going to get to attack.
They can ambush. They have teleport options in their army. They'll all, like it is wild how good Chain Rasps are. They're also pretty tough, by the way. Like people underestimate Chain Rasps, but like Discorporation and the other tricks in there, these guys can just be thick as a brick. I played 2 games this weekend under the new rules, just to get some experience in before this show. I fired at a unit of 10 Chain Rasps with like a full unit of, and these were unbuffed, but it was a full unit of Storm Fiends, like 6 Storm Fiends. I killed 1 Chain Rasp.
Yeah, that checks out. That happens.
And I was like, oh, well, that didn't work how I wanted. Okay. And the random GV that isn't in the above, but that isn't in the, that isn't like in the above, in this battalion is just waiting to be exploded by bounty hunters. In other words, putting GV that isn't tough, hard to remove, resilient, fast, mobile, ambushy, or sitting well behind your lines is literally just waiting to be exploded and picked up by bounty hunters. That's all it is. Yeah. So screening your GV with non-GV is essential. Like having non-GV chaff becomes a really important consideration in the army.
Or your non-GV front line.
Yeah.
So like this is the example why I said having Hearthguard not be your GV is actually a really good deal because they're your big punchy fighty people that you want to have up front and they're not taking extra damage now.
Yeah. Electman asks, so do you think that prosecutors would have play in the meta as a screening unit? Because obviously prosecutors aren't battle line in anything outside of the one subfaction. And I think a unit like that, yeah, absolutely. Right? They're relatively cheap. They have a very wide frontage because of their 3-inch coherency. They're very easy to get in there and gum up space, and they don't allow your opponent to score much in the way of battle tactics anymore.
And you could go to like a 3-up pretty easily, right? Like if you're hammers, you could be or they base 3-up, so even better. So you go to 2s and 6s, right? In hammers, which is just please.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
5-man Cav is another great chaff. So this is where we get back into your Cav discussion, right?
Yep.
So like if you've got non-battle line 5-man horsey chaff, right?
It could be battle line.
They can be battle line. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But like if you've got 5-man chaff, Hellstriders, Marauder Horsemen,
Hex Wraiths.
Hex Wraith, sure. It's like, especially if it's cheap, like Hex Wraiths are great because they're providing double value,
but they're expensive, right?
They are, but they're also Pistolier is a great example. But like Hex Wraiths are really interesting because they're also providing double value. You can use them both as chaff, or they could be late game to go grab stuff once everybody's weakened because they're super move, right? So they're kind of playing an interesting double role.
Right,
Okay.
and they could actually be one of your choices for like a hunter.
Um, one thing I noticed with the interplay of expert conquerors, bounty hunters, is some of these games, it has created situations where I have felt more forced to try and kill the expert conquerors, often MSU expert conquerors, with
Yep.
no screen in front of them, even though I would rather target the bounty hunters to reduce their output before they get into me. And I just found that interesting. So even in
Yeah.
these situations, I mean, that's kind of a classic first step with these two battalions. You put 2x10 chain rasp, and then you put 2x20 Blade Geist Revenant, 2x10 chain rasp and expert conquerors, 2x20 Blade Geist Revenant Scarlet Doom in the bounty hunters. And yeah, it's been interesting seeing some of the incentives play out.
Yeah, 100%. Because you realize that they're going to walk up with that conquering power and just hold something
Hold something, exactly. Yeah.
and just take it
It's
out
like-
from you. So they become high priority targets. Yeah.
If things are maybe not quite in the right position and you just don't have the ability to get 30 models on that objective, which then affects your ability to score early on. It's like, okay, can I get down in round 1 or round 2 and catch back up in this game if I choose to focus on the bounty hunters a little bit more? It's just kind of been intriguing, the
Yeah.
add-on consequences of some of this stuff.
I agree. So my point here is that there are some armies, and this is this is really the discussion, where basically they're going to be forced into having a lot of Galatian veterans. Like they might as well put them in expert conquerors sometimes, right? Because like why not?
Yeah.
But they don't meet any of this criteria, and those armies that have a lot of that, they're forced in down that path, are just like waiting to get that stuff to just get exploded.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas if you're someone like Sylvaneth, okay, Sylvaneth review coming in 2 weeks. If you're someone like Sylvaneth, where you could have, you've got your tree revs who can be back in the back of the board, just way piping around, just Zamfir, master of the objective steal, okay, their way around the board every round. Meanwhile, your actual battle line is like Kurnoth or something, right? 3 units of Kurnoth because you're in Heartwood. I actually played against Sylvaneth using Heartwood and Kurnoth, and it was pretty good. Turns out, giving all those guys +1 to hit against a lot of units, pretty
Weird.
good.
Weird.
Good, because they're also +1 to wound all the time. Anyways,
You said +1 hit. I think you meant +1 damage, right?
no. They weren't bounty hunters in this case.
okay.
They were just
Gotcha.
battle line. They had +1 hit because they were in
Oh,
Heartwood, so they
+1
get to
hit
pick
for
the 3
the-
units.
Gotcha,
And then
for
they had an
Heartwood.
Archrev sitting in the middle of them, also giving him +1 to wound.
wound,
Surprisingly good. Anyways,
Weird.
Look for that show in 2 weeks. But he had both of his tree revs in Expert Conquerors and was just able to pipe these dudes around for just 15. Just roaming around, very threatening, right? Suddenly showing up.
Shadow Stalkers 27.
Yeah.
27 equivalent models.
Oh yeah, Shadow Stonkers, huge stonks on the Shadow Stonkers, being able to just pop in as 27, right? Teleporting every round on their own. No chance of failure.
Yep.
I would also mention this might be some incentive for things like Starborn, where they could have units that they could pick up and put down every round that are battle line would meet this, and could make some of their trash units actually scary, moving like 10 skinks around or something even. So, yeah, but again, like 10 Blight Kings to me is such an amazing Expert Conquerors unit as far as the big tough goes, because even though they're susceptible to being attacked back by bounty hunters, that's still a hard unit to shift, right? And it's sitting there counting as 30 and being eminently refillable and just very, very, very tough. So
I got hit by 31 attacks, extra damage, bounty hunters, 10 melee snakes. He killed 1 Blight King with Mystic Shield and all that defense.
there you go. I mean, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
That was with he got 9 out of the, it was, I mean, I spiked a little bit, but we spiked more than a little bit, but anyway, he did 9 damage. He did 8. No, he did 7 damage. Yeah. He killed 1 and 3 wounds on another one.
Yep, that's what I'm talking about. And that unit's still sitting there counting as 27. Right. By the way, to answer the question, yes, Blight Kings are still Galatian veterans and do qualify for all this, even though one guy in the unit has a wounds of 5, because it's about the unit's wound characteristic, which is 4. Not so the one champion guy doesn't make a difference.
Right. And even if, by the way, even if he did, you can just choose to not add him.
To not have the champion.
Because one of your models may be a
Right.
blah,
But it
blah,
doesn't
blah.
matter. He doesn't change anything. So there you go. Okay.
Indeed.
Let's talk bounty hunters, because this is the thing everybody's talking about. Only troops. So not behemoth artillery leader. Troops. And only melee damage. This is the true death of the one drop right here, because everybody wants to get that sweet double damage against these units that are walking around counting as, 30, 60, 90 on points. It's everyone's new go-to example for how damaging a unit is. We'll see if I put them in bounty hunters and everything becomes 2 damage. Like, everybody loves running to this. This is the new, like, everybody's got a 2-up save. Like, people talk in shorthand, just like as though they imagine the entire game has a 2-up save, which is not, of course, how things work out in reality. But now everybody's just in bounty hunters all the time. Like, for your purposes of all examples given by all content creators and all people in common conversation, it just might as everybody's in bounty hunters all the time forever.
Sure.
Okay. This is very powerful for units that can slot in this but are not themselves GV and don't risk being taken down by other bounty hunters. So, in other words, if you are a unit that is a troop but is not battle line, right? So you've dodged GV, right? Either you are battle line and you're 5 wounds or more, or you're not battle line and you're under the thing, you're mounted, whatever, right? If you've managed to dodge in between there, this is this is where you can be the most powerful, because you don't risk the 2 damage hit back, or the whatever it is, the +1 damage hit back. Okay. This is your hammer battalion. My examples I've picked here are Puskoil Blightlords. Maybe my top pick, period, for bounty hunters. Between having a pregame move or an ambush as an option. Making a metric crap ton of attacks. Swishing on, that's what I call their little mortal wounds thing. I call it their swish. They like swish. I picture them just swishing around on people to squish them under their little fat rolls. Their little mortal wound, swish, and disease. These guys are just primed to go ham. Things like fulminators, Kurnoth with swords, because swords are the best. That's been officially made true now. Swords are the best. Little baby giants, man crusher gargants can go in here. Monsters that go battle line and lose all their other types do count here. So like in Fire Slayers, the what is he? Rune Sun.
The
Lofnir Rune Sun. Right?
Yes, please.
Enlightened on disc is a good example, right? Those guys are pretty brutal already, giving them +1 damage. All that kind of stuff, right? I'm not sure Fulminators need another buff, but I welcome it. Let's go.
Sure.
Gorgruntas, not pictured on the page, but I am very excited about 3 damage Gorgruntas. Again, highly mobile. Extremely tough.
That can get pretty crazy on decimators with extra damage. The not seen in a long time decimators.
I still think you won't see them, but I like your hope.
I think we'll see them. Sure, protectors are still pretty good.
Protectors are still good, because the issue you have is, so let's talk about this now. Okay, now that we've gotten to this point, the trick you have is anytime you're talking about something that is potentially an existing galley vet, you risk the 2 damage hit back, right? That's where things like Blight Kings have a weakness.
Definitely.
Right?
And like, even though, your units in Night Haunt that are like battle line like this is a case now to not do Harridans in Quicksilver, but to do Harridans outside, because the Harridans like 10 are at 40 attacks that are all going to be 2 damage now.
Right.
Like pretty good numbers.
Yes, Electman, Stormdrake Guard can be bounty hunters, and boy oh boy can they be bounty hunters. Dragons is still good.
Still good.
Still good. Make a lot of attacks, and they're good. They're good. It turns out. I'm glad I put the swords on mine. I've always liked the swords, and I think they're better as bounty hunters with swords because the swords have 6 flat attacks, and 6 2 damage attacks is good.
Oh.
So yes, sharks could be. I think sharks are good bounty hunters. Absolutely. They have a good mix of like.
I like
obviously their range
eels.
attack doesn't benefit. Eels are fine
Eels.
too. The problem with eels is you got to watch it because eels, if eels go.
No, they're mounted.
They're not. Yeah, they never become Galatian veterans. My only issue with eels is, yeah, thank you. I had a different problem with eels.
Yeah.
Too many units to keep straight. My only issue with eels is they're not as tough as they used to be. So
Sure, but you're getting the bonus damage on both your main rider attacks and also the mount attacks.
Agreed. I don't think eels are bad bounty hunters by any stretch.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, like the key is when you go bounty hunters, it's a great idea if you can not be a Galatian veteran. I'm really trying to drive that point home.
Yes.
Okay. So, yes. Things that are just automatically going to, like, mounted things can work great in here, as you mentioned, Tom. This is where we again come back to your mounted conversation.
Blood Knights.
Yeah, Blood Knights are brutal in this, yes.
Unriders.
Yep.
Let's see. Morgan was talking about Wild Riders.
Oh, good lord. Get out of here
Oh,
with that.
boy.
This is nonsense.
Nope.
Only
Hard pass.
Smorgan. Smorgan's going to join us next week, by the way, so I'm excited.
Excellent.
Next week will be the Skaven show. And we got a lot of fun stuff to talk about with rats. But, yeah, so it's interesting because things like cavalry or this kind of, like, heavy infantry isn't equitably distributed around the armies, right?
I realize I need to come up with a spreadsheet. I need to add that to the tab to the spreadsheet with all this stuff. I'll get that done here shortly.
Hugo, you asked if brutes would be good. The problem with brutes is that they're GV.
Right, they're automatically GV because
they're automatically GV, and you're not going to escape that. And so you're going to take they're going to take more damage, arguably, than they're going to deal out.
Now that being said, to me, I think brutes actually, to me, make more sense in Expert Conquerors, and I'll talk about why. Okay. I think the list of Iron Jaws that I'm looking at is like single Maw Crusher, stacked War Chantas, no Wizard as always, Mega Boss on foot, couple deck chair sitters of Ard Boys, and a 10 man of brutes, and then the rest is pigs all the way down.
And you go Iron Sun so that the pigs.
And
are
you
not
go
battle
Iron
line.
Suns. So the pigs aren't battle line. Okay, not that it really matters, but whatever.
Yeah.
The pigs aren't battle line because they wouldn't be UVs anyways.
Yeah.
They're getting the full. They're in bounty hunters. They're getting the full bonus. Okay.
Yeah.
The 10 mana brutes is in Expert Conquerors to both count as 30, but also to walk up to things like chain rasps and be like, you messin', and just sap the life out of them. Right? So like, yeah, you count as 30, you count as 0. Doesn't matter if I can't kill you. Right? I'm just gonna you just count as nothing.
It just becomes a king objective. Like it is your objective tech.
Correct. And you've got all the pigs out there in front acting as these screens to protect them from enemy bounty hunters.
Yeah.
And coming screaming, that and the Mega Boss are coming in screaming for mega amounts of damage, 2-3 damage on all their attacks. And just being like, well, you got to deal with this thing, so you don't have time to go hunt down my brutes, right? It just becomes too low on the priority chain. So that's why I like brutes better in EC than I like them in bounty hunters.
So, just a last thought on troops. I mean, the Hopium side of me is that we may actually be entering a better world than we've been in some time in terms of viability of a broader variety of troop type of war scroll types is what I'm trying to say, right? Monsters no longer have to worry about Hunters of the Heartland. Monsters put out a lot of damage. Monsters can do really good saves. I think monsters are still hero monsters, many of them are still going to find a lot of value. Many of them are really good against
They can roar.
units. Yeah, they can roar. They can turn off commands. Monsters still have relevance. Mounts. We've talked about at least 3 different value points on mounts: mobility, bounty hunters, and then non-vets, screening, etc. And then obviously infantry is going to have a value, and then small infantry as points of clear value potentially, and then mid-size as well as very elite. Elite, you just made the point, the critical point, Vince, with bounty hunters. So, I mean, like, that's the hope side of me, that we may be entering this ecosystem where so much has gotten quite a bit better.
Right.
It's hard to predict how it's all going to shake out, but I can see a case for a much broader range of war scrolls than I could prior to this GHB.
Yeah. And I should state, we're talking about the incentives as we see them and the natural consequences of what they've put before us. But understanding how this is all going to shake out when the rubber meets the road and like people really get into this and we see this list tech develop, it's impossible to predict because there are so many variables going here. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Very quickly here, because we're already behind schedule, but that's all right. We're okay on schedule. We had the extra 15 minutes thing for the battle scribe at the top, Battlescroll. Tyler, Tom, myself, we're going to do what is your number one favorite expert conqueror? What is your number one favorite bounty hunter out of the list? Okay? So I want you to think about this. I will go first. Okay? My number one favorite bounty hunter is all of the Dracoth riders. Okay? I love Dracoth riders as a thing. I think they're awesome. Doesn't have to be fulminators. Those fulminators should probably still go up a little in points. Not a lot, a little. But I like the option to that now all of them can have some play. So that's cool. And my favorite expert conqueror, I already talked about. I'm actually going to pick brutes. I love a 10-mana brutes as expert conquerors solely because of you messin'. I think their ability to interact with other one-wound things that are often going to be expert conquerors in the game and sap them from controlling objectives is super good. Tyler, what's your hot pick?
Expert conquerors, I'm going to go with the much maligned, and the two of you are guilty of this dating back to at least 2018, Vanguard Hunters, which I ran at MatchCon and did very well with, I'll have you know.
Okay.
And
get out of here.
Hopping around, counting as 5x3, 15 model. Oh, it's beautiful.
You're off the show.
A more serious answer would be Chaos Warriors and Expert Conquerors. They're just solid. And
Chaos Warriors, I think, are a good pick. Just because built-in mortal wound protection, lots of save stacking. Yeah, it's a good pick. A lot of wounds.
Let me think about Bounty Hunters. Tom, you got a Expert Conquerors?
Yeah, and by the way, the other thing is let me follow up on what you just said for why Chaos Warriors are a top pick, is that they're immune to Vince's top pick. These are 2 wound each. So they're counting for 3 and they're 2 wound models. And they're super hard. I for my GV, for my expert combo, I have to go with Chain Rasps. Because they're just like a 20 pack of Chain Rasps are 220.
Yeah, so cheap for the amount of body capture you get, and the versatility and the defense.
For 20 wounds on a 5 unrendable, regularly on a 5 up after save. Outside of mathematical flukes, which I experienced at ACO. Outside of those mathematical flukes, they're just a real hard real hard unit to shift. And they're also in an army that refills.
Yeah. I mean, they tick all the boxes. They're tough. They're refillable. They're mobile. They can ambush. Like they're ticking every thing that is a good EC box.
Yeah. I could see a world where I run 60 of them, and I thought I was done running 60.
Right. There you go.
Yeah.
Tyler, bounty hunter pick.
Bounty hunters. I'll be lame and just go with Kurnoth. I mean, Kurnoth are going to be nuts with this new battle tome.
Kurnoth can also make a cool thing about Kurnoth secondaries. Don't forget they make objectives count as overgrown awakened wildwoods, right? So they also act as a beacon to bonus all of your other dudes around them. So stonks there. Tom, you got a bounty hunter's pick?
I'm just actually going to go straight for pigs. Because pigs were already good damage. They were already a great unit, great mobility, and guess what? Yeah. More damage.
Yeah, it's an easy pick. Okay,
definitely embodies the rich getting richer with a number of these examples, starting with fly spam. I mean, that's frustrating.
Yes, I mean they also, it should be stated that also pigs have the mass attacks that make bounty hunters the most worth it, right? Because they just make just a ton of high rend attacks.
Like 27 attacks or something ridiculous.
It's a lot depending on the
And
size of the unit, yeah.
yeah, exactly. I'm just thinking a 3. Like, to be clear, I'm just thinking a 3-pack. And they're already high damage, and they're in an army that can get bonus to damage from war chanters. Like, it's just all the way down.
Yep.
Paladors.
Oh my god. Okay,
Stop
moving on.
Stop it.
All right, we're gonna keep going. Let's talk grand strats and battle tactics. So, I'm gonna read these. We're gonna talk about consequences. Okay. New grand strats, no place for the weak. When the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if there are no battle line units from your opponent's starting army on the battlefield. So you got to kill all their battle line. Could be actually very easy, as people are often de-incentivized off of battle line. So we might see some min battle line type situations in some armies. Tame the land. When the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if you control all the objectives on the battlefield that are wholly outside your territory. Hard pass. Defend what's ours. When the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if there are no enemy units wholly within your territory. And take what's theirs. When the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if there are more friendly units than enemy units wholly within your opponent's territory. Both probably a no from me. Demonstration of strength. When the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if there are 3 or more Galatian veteran units from your starting army on the battlefield. Unless you're going super heavy GV strat, this is a loser, because GVs, as Tyler already mentioned, are going to be target priority number 1 to kill. So the chances of you having like 3 of them outside of very specific armies that can make like insanely tough GVs is low.
Or you have like 12 units that are,
or you have the ability to summon a bunch more of them.
Yes.
Because it doesn't say starting Galatian. Oh no, from your starting army. Never mind, I lied. I'm sorry, it just said it in the wrong place. So yep,
starting army on the battlefield.
Yes.
Yeah, you could.
So like you can't summon them.
Oh, okay. Interesting rule though. You deploy Night Haunt all your units on the battle, and then you get to pull 3 off.
Yeah, sure.
So they are on the battlefield. So you could put.
Yeah, they're still your starting army. And
yeah,
the on the battlefield is meant to reference the 3 or more, not the starting army thing.
The 3 or more, right? Oh, do you think so?
Yes.
Starting army on the battlefield. Regardless, Night Haunt could pull them off and wait till the end of the game and put them back on the table in the last round, because there's not the 4th round requirement right now in the Night Haunt book.
There is. All books have it. It's a core rule thing, Tom. All reserves, if not deployed by round 4, are dead. They are slain instantly. That is not a thing that needs to be written into rules anymore. It's in the core rules. I'm 1,000% sure of it.
But are they considered to be in? Okay, we're not. We'll move on. We'll have this conversation.
That's fine. Yes, anything put into reserve for any reason, if not deployed by the 4th round, is killed.
Yeah.
Okay. When the battle ends, the actual easy one. Show of dominance. When the battle ends, you complete this grand strategy if there are any friendly Galatian veterans units in each quarter of the battlefield. This seems really hard, because when people read this initially, I saw Russ do this. Shouting you out, Russ. Calling you out, brother. He was like, oh, you're never going to have 4 units. This is just a harder demonstration of strength. No, it's not. It's a much easier version. I can complete this with 1 25 mil model. 1. Because I can walk that 1 25 mil model to the center point of the battlefield and just be standing in the exact center of the battlefield. And I am now I'm in each quarter. It doesn't say wholly within, it just says in. I am now in each one. So by that 1 25 mil model standing in the direct center, I have completed this grand strat. So the center, if everybody starts taking this, the center of the battlefield in round 5 becomes a hot showdown.
That's what happened 2 days ago, dude. 2 days ago. It was amazing. Yeah.
Everybody's fighting over the middle point.
Tactics.
Yeah.
He was out of battle tactics. Round 4, round 5, he had to charge into 10 Judicators and hope he survives in Leash Hell with his remaining Blade Guys Revenants. Kill them, hang out in the center, hope I don't burn through him. He gets the grand strat. It was fascinating.
That's great. Ryan Goss said, summon units can't be GV anyway since they won't be battle line. I wish that was true, Ryan. But as near as I can tell, in 3.0, that is no longer a rule. Maybe they intend to reinstantiate that. It hasn't been an issue so far, but that was a 2.0 FAQ of not absorbing the battle line, or of not absorbing your battlefield roles. I actually went through the core rules trying to figure this out, if there was anything in it that referenced it, and I couldn't find anything. I dug through the FAQs for the same thing and couldn't find anything. So if you can point me chapter and verse where it says that, I'm happy to change my mind. But that FAQ that was there in 2.0 got removed. So as of right now, if you summon a battle line unit, they're battle line units, and they would suddenly become Galatian veterans. as near as I can tell. Again, if somebody has chapter and verse, then fine. But otherwise, it's there. I cannot find any rules that say they don't absorb their battlefield role. Okay.
Yeah, that, by the way, that show of dominance, super risky, Vince, because it just takes them to have like a monster. Just go stand it on there and be like, unless you kill this monster, you lose your grand strategy.
Whatever. All of those are harder, which is what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's easier than kicking every single model they have out of my entire territory in some maps, right?
Right.
So,
right.
as what I don't like, I mentioned this to you a couple nights ago. What I don't like about these, the problem is I'm not sure what a better solution is. Let me know if you have an idea offhand. They're very win more oriented. Anybody doesn't know what I mean by that is, right. Yep. Like, if you're winning the game, you're very likely.
If you're just hard into their territory, tabling them, of course you can get the one where you have more than them, right?
Yeah.
If you've killed them off the table, of course you've kicked them out of your space. Like, it stacks on already beating the crap out of the enemy. Yes.
Right.
It is a
we don't have to go in now what would be a better direction, but yeah, I'm not a fan of.
There's a lot less survive and more, and it's a lot more win more.
Yeah, the answer, Tyler, is just simple. It's do orthogonal things that don't have to do with like killing the enemy or taking objectives. That would be the answer. Yeah. Right.
Like, I think it's better than survive. Stuff. Right? Because we saw survive. The three most survive. Hold the line, Beastmaster, Price Sorcery. They were by far the three that everybody took, or one of the three everybody took.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's a better world, but still not ideal.
Okay, battle tactics. Gaining momentum. Pick one enemy unit on the battlefield. You complete this battle tactic if that unit is destroyed during this turn, and you control more objectives than your opponent at the end of this turn. So, fascinating. You can pick anyone, any unit, but if you kill, you got to kill that unit and then hold more objectives. An eye for an eye. You complete this battle tactic if one or more friendly units were destroyed in the previous turn, and one or more enemy units are destroyed during this turn. So if they killed one of yours, you kill one of theirs. Cool. Like it. I like that you can't complete that first turn if you go first, right? Obviously. It's kind of a neat instantaneous sort of thing that's built in there. Desecrate their lands. Pick one terrain feature or faction terrain feature that is partially or wholly within your opponent's territory. You complete this battle tactic if you control that terrain feature at the end of this turn. Nice, but it does require a lot of weird jankiness around terrain tracking and who controls what and so on and so forth. But it's not the worst problem. It's just a little minor thing.
Not that bad, because there probably won't often be that many terrain features partially or wholly within your opponent's territory. At least that's what I found in my initial dozen games.
Yep. This one's mine. Pick one enemy unit on the battlefield. You complete this battle tactic if that unit is destroyed during this turn by an attack made by the model picked to be your general. Has to be an attack. So if you do a bunch of damage to them and then careen in and kill them with like mortal wounds on your monster general, does not count. You fail the battle tactic, okay? Or if you stomp them or something, right? That's not an attack. It has to be an attack. Very important. Obviously, going to depend highly on how killy your general is. Head-to-head. Pick one enemy Galatian Veterans unit on the battlefield. You complete this battle tactic if that unit is destroyed during this turn by an attack made by a friendly Galatians Veteran unit or an ability of them. So that can be attacks or abilities. This is GV on GV violence, right? You've got to take out their GV with your GV. Outmuscle. Pick one enemy Galatian Veterans unit that has any models contesting an objective marked as the proving ground. You complete this battle tactic if no models from that enemy unit are contesting the proving ground at the end of this turn. Okay, cool. So basically, if you've got enemy GVs on a proving ground objective, being OBSEC, if you kill them, you get this. Against the odds, pick one unit from your starting army on the battlefield. You complete this battle tactic if at the end of this turn, any models from this unit are contesting an objective you control, and that objective is not being contested by an enemy Galatian veteran model. Very popular round one pick here already in my games, because you generally have an objective. You can know that the enemy's not going to be having any GVs contested. Like, you just pick one they're not near, you go up and take it, right?
Yeah.
Right, there you go. And then barge through enemy lines. You complete this battle tactic if there are two or more units from your starting army wholly within your opponent's territory at the end of this turn. If two or more of those units are GVs, you score one additional victory point. All right. So that's our list. Let's talk about consequences. These are much, much harder to accomplish on the whole, which is good. They're still not impossible, but this is good. This is good movement. This is exactly what we talked about in the Battle Tactics show. I like this. They have few simple auto wins and are certainly more complicated than like run 3. Right? There are still some you can do, but it's harder to get all 5. Army Grand Strats and Battle Tactics should be banned from tournament packs immediately.
Yeah, like these are not compatible with the Army book stuff. Right. Because if those Army book stuff exist in the same ecosystem, then you are just simply incentivized to play Doc.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
My read on this
that's who will win tournaments.
100%. My read on this is the Army Grand Strategies and Battle Tactics were not designed for this new world. They were tuned to the old Battle Tactics, which are so easy to go 5 for 5.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And that they're just not made for this newer, harder world.
Yep.
Right? Like, these should be banned out of tournaments immediately. They are not compatible with this new world of harder battle tactics. If you want interesting games where battle tactics matter, then these need to be thrown into the sun instantaneously for tournaments.
To echo that, I mean, I don't really have a hot take to this degree, but I think if you're a tournament organizer,
yes,
you are
Go ahead.
Doing an enormous disservice to your players if you allow these at your tournament. Truly.
You are creating an uneven playing field, period.
Right, it shouldn't be there. And, like, Doc is the easy one to pick here, but they're not the only one. Like, they're certainly a big offender. And I understand not all battle tomes, we talked about this, that not all battle tomes or tome celestials have given the same level of quality. That's only more reason not to use these, right? The fact that some people have these and they're still bad, and some people have these and they're just amazing, it just doesn't work with this new world. Just jettison this dead weight, okay? Like, get rid of them.
Yeah.
Let's play with these 8 battle tactics that are clearly tuned for this season, that have this play with these keywords, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
There's a lot more to be said about this, about the counter arguments, but maybe we can do that in another show.
I mean,
there are a number of counter arguments I've been hearing about, like a slippery slope argument, et cetera, but I know we don't want to waste 10 minutes on this.
The other thing that I would say is that, and like, this would require a different approach to Grand Strats. The other thing that I don't think would be a terrible change that some events might do is making you choose a different Grand Strat each game.
You could go that direction and it would defeat the thing, and then they could keep their army wins and so on and so forth. But again,
right,
and that's still more complexity when the easy answer is just kick these things out of the game, out of tournaments specifically.
Yep.
Like, that's it. It's all there is to it. It's not hard.
Yeah.
Right. We don't need to get more complicated than that. Just, you want to use them in your home games for casual games or something like that? Cool. I don't care. It's fine. Whatever. Play the game you want. Right.
Yeah.
But if a tournament is meant to be like trying to create at least some kind of parity, it's so obvious these are out of whack.
Yeah.
And by the way, I don't buy the slippery slope, because everything is a slippery slope. Life is a slippery slope, but we make decisions to change things all the time.
Right. We draw lines all the time.
All the time. Yes, exactly. I can swing my arm until it contacts your nose. That's not a slippery slope. It's just common sense.
Yeah.
Somebody one time was like, well, what else would Vince want to comp? And I'm like, no, he doesn't. We don't really. He doesn't think like that. I don't think like that.
I don't want to comp stuff. This isn't about comp.
Exactly. That's not how he thinks.
I generally hate comp.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
This is a module, a very clear module that you can set aside.
Right. I'm saying they gave us a thing.
So negative.
Yeah, they gave us a thing in this battle pack. I'm saying let's just play with this battle pack. Let's actually do the thing they gave us. That's it.
Right.
It's battle tactics.
Yeah. All right. GS and BT and GV. Oh my. Let's look at some stats. 2 out of 6 grand strategies require you to have GV, which you could obviously just simply not choose those 2 if you don't have a GV heavy force.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Both require you to have them alive, so they're both survival type things of some way. Right. One way more than the other. 4 out of 8 battle tactics have to do in some way with GVs.
Yep.
Only 1 of the battle tactics actually requires you to have a GV to do something, which is head-to-head. That's the go kill their GV with your GV. Okay? 2 of the 4 require you to kill enemy GV units. Hence, more heavy incentive on bounty hunters, an already powerful battalion. 1 of the 4 gives you a bonus point if and only if you have multiple GB performing it, but it doesn't really require them. And it's 1 bonus point 1 time in the game, so I'm not sweating over it, right? It wouldn't be a reason to change my list construction.
Yeah. And so, for the record, folks, in general, what this means is that GV should probably be your first priority target for eliminating things.
Yeah, and like this goes back to my point I made that random chaff that is GV just allows your opponent to basically grab a couple battle tactics from you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So like you got to think real deeply about what is your GV, where is your GV, what do you have it doing? Because otherwise you're just handing your opponent points.
Yeah.
Right? If you've got a simple small chaff unit that's GV out in front and they're using like a GV unit in their bounty hunters that's pretty mobile and killy, well then head to head is just like that's just a given. They're just gonna go pick it up.
Yeah.
They just pick it up. They kill one of yours and they kill some of your OBSEC potential through proving ground, and they got themselves 2 points in the process.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, like to me, there's a lot that you like. Part of the challenge with the battle tactics in my mind is none of this is incentivizing me to have more GV. In fact, it's pushing me away from it. Right? It's pushing me more into things like bounty hunters and the power of those kinds of units. Like, I think in their mind,
strategic
ground,
strategic GV is the way that what it pushes me to.
Yes, Andy, no, it is not.
Yeah.
The thing about this is bounty hunters already obviously has a huge incentive. 2 out of the 4 of the battle tactics also play into bounty hunters in some way, right? Or make it strong. Okay.
Yep.
I would also state that, by the way, an eye for an eye, which has nothing to do with GV, also feeds into bounty hunters because it's about lifting a unit, any one of their units with your unit.
Yeah.
Right. Any of your units.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, there's a lot of incentive here to go hard into like non-GV bounty hunter type stuff.
Yeah.
And they're kind of relying on the proving ground and the OBSEC that's objective secured, by the way, is what I'm shortening there.
Yep.
Like function to do a lot of work. And I'm not sure it's that strong.
You're saying having GV?
Yeah, I'm not sure that proving ground alone is making me care that much. Okay.
I mean, until they have like a GV, like you bump up against a Night Haunt triple 20 pack chain rasp guardian, whatever a
heavy GV force. I'm glad you mentioned that, Tom, because that leads us directly to the results and strategy slide. The results and strats.
Sure, you're welcome.
Because perfect segue, Tom. I appreciate it. You're a pro as always after 8 years. 3 strategies emerge in my mind.
Yeah.
1, if your army has GV that can meet the criteria we mentioned, resilient, refillable, mobile, etc., congratulations, you're expert conquerors, and you're playing Sons of Badmon now. And why I say you're playing Sons of Badmon...
Play style-wise, you're playing Sons of Badmon.
Correct.
You're not actually playing the Allegiance.
No, but you're going to win in the same way they won.
Yeah.
You have a ton of GV counting as extraordinary numbers of troops.
Yeah.
You're incentivized not to fight because you don't want to lose troops. You want to be
pull out of combat
all the time. You retreat every time you can. You rally every time you can. And you just count as exorbitant numbers. You're like, I'm 180 on this objective. Okay. It's mine. Right?
I retreat out.
I retreat from you every time. Because I am highly incentivized with this kind of a strat, if you go this strat, to fight as little as possible. I charge you almost never. I retreat every time I can. I stand on objectives as much as possible. And, when even your 10
and you chaff and you chaff
And you
a bunch. So you just slow down how much they can actually engage your strategic units.
Yep. There's a high benefit to going second because then you dominate the proving ground and can use that to your advantage. You win through objective domination. And by the way, everybody was upset about Giants like Taker Tribe stuff counting as 30.
Yeah.
Right? Because it was unbeatable.
That's nothing.
That's like the opening bid in the GP Wars.
Like clan rats. Clan rats will be like, I'm 180 on this objective.
Yeah, we were playing about one of the battle plans I played was the table quadrant, someone will talk about, where the whole table quadrant's an objective. And just on 2 units, I didn't bother to count everything up, but on 2 units, I had 240 capture power in that quadrant.
Wild.
It's like,
this is mine now.
This is mine. All right.
Very quickly on this one, Vince. So against the odds, we've talked about how not on the show, but prior. There is an argument in some instances to going first, or benefit in general in going first with against the odds, right? So let's say we're in one of the 3 objectives in the middle, like in the presence of idols, where you've got enough veterans, maybe all in expert conquerors. You plot them all on those 3 objectives. Cool. Your opponent goes. Now your opponent could very well be denied from getting an easy against the odds battle tactic in round 1, which might get them off sequence. Now they may have to try and do a harder one, like. It could potentially start getting them off sequence in terms of achieving their battle tactics because you've taken out that easy one by going first, actually.
Right.
Anyway,
yeah,
I think that's
it's a good point. I think we're going to really have talks about going first or not, right? Because I can really see a strat where you almost want to go first and then get doubled. Okay, like that's actually highly, but like build your
first,
army.
You bunker.
You go first, you bunker with the intention to go second next turn. You want to be doubled. I actually think there is quite a playable, strong strat in many of these battle plans where you want to go first, get doubled, and then ride second the rest of the game. Mm-hmm. Where you just, if you win priority, you give it away. If your opponent wins, you hope they take it.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, and I think Nighthaunt would excel in that world.
Yeah. Femi asked, is it going to be a mistake then to take the units with big bases who love to fight in 2 ranks as from GV? I was looking at 6 to 9 flares. It's not like they've ever been that tough. Femi, I am sorry to say that, yes, they are the losers out of this. Like, we didn't talk about losers.
What's going to happen is that a hunter unit is going to look at that and just lift it. Right. Yep. They're going to go into it and just lift your unit. Because it's an easy
you're on
charge.
Like 5 up, 6 up. You're just dead.
Yeah, it's an easy charge, and it's an easy battle tactic complete.
Yeah, those kind of like low armor save, weak, like monstrous
GV.
dudes on like a 5 up save, that GV, that's I hate to say it, but they're the big losers here.
Yeah.
It's a shame
real
because
quickly,
Rock Gut Trolls on the other hand.
Sure, especially +1.
Wanted to get your guys' temperature. We skipped over this. Should bounty hunters been what's your initial take on this? Should bounty hunters have been more limited, right? There's a number of ways we could have made it more limited. We could have made it where it could only be against expert conquerors troops. We could have made it where it had to be only veterans themselves could go in bounty hunters, being more limited than it was.
It probably shouldn't have been +1 damage to all melee weapon attacks. Like it should have been more limited.
Yes.
And then solution is pick any of 50 things.
Or how about this? +1 to hit.
I mean, like I said, there are literally 50 solutions I could trot out.
Well, +1 to hit is just a redundant bonus in a lot of armies, right?
It could be hit and wound. It could be only GVs in there. But then you'd have a lot of armies that just don't get to play in these new battalions at all. So I understand why they wanted it to be troops. Like all of those will have positive and negative externalities. Okay,
Yeah.
It could have just excluded mounts. That could have been a way to go, right? It could have done 10 different things. It didn't. That's not the world we live in. So here we are. The answer is simple. Yes, it should have been more limited. Easy. Right? Okay.
Make it hero only.
Yes, if your army has lots of elite troops that can deal damage, you are now bounty hunters and leaning heavier into hammers, all the hammers. Get them all out, baby. Like, it's time to go smash. Who wants to smash? Minimizes and controls GV by having little to none of their own.
Yep.
They also have a high benefit for going second because then they can put the proving ground where they don't care. That's the key, right? Like everybody thinks of this as only an offensive thing. No, of course, proving ground's defensive as well.
Yeah.
Right. Like I can just stick it somewhere where I already have control of the objective, and I don't care that it's OPSEC. I'm going to retain control. I just stop my ability to contest I don't lose control of anything. So I'll just
Right.
bunker the thing. Or burn it on something I have no intention of taking this round so that they can't do it in the future. Like if I'm going to the left objective and I know that's where I'm pushing this round and they're sunk on the right, congratulations, the right objective is now a proving ground. I plan to go nowhere near it, fight on it not at all, and later in the game when it matters, I've already burned it off as proving ground.
Yeah. To say it, it's also, I don't think we did earlier, it's also optional. It's a can. You're not required
It's a can.
to.
Yeah, you're not required to. So you can
Yeah.
just always not do it. But I think defensive proving is
Yeah,
almost
because
what you're
you want
gonna
to
do
burn theirs so that they can't use that in the next
against
phase.
you.
So like if they are bunkering on a objective with a GV and you want to take that in the future, you burn it early so that in the later turn you hit that, they can't use it.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Interesting.
Exactly. Like there's so much play to using proving ground if you're in the bounty hunter force with almost no GV, right? Because you're just counterplaying them.
Yeah.
Okay. High benefit to going second, wins through killing enemy GV and neutralizing the proving ground. Third strat that emerges out of this, shooting. Still here, baby. You thought it was gone? Nah, it's still here. Because now it's the counterplay.
Yeah.
It's still good, and it can remove enemy GV and bounty hunters alike. Because the bounty hunters have to wait to get into melee to express their bonus. Shooting doesn't. Shooting still likes to be one drop. Shooting still likes to go first and is happy to take the double. I'm happy to let you give me the double so I can just be blasting. So anyways, I started blasting.
Right.
Okay. Like they are shooting becomes the counter pick to all of the incentives this one is telling you to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that shooting will absolutely dominate. It just means that it is a counter strat that is a viable strat against the other play types.
Exactly. So don't worry, rerolling ones, Jack. I know you're out there. You're still fine with your ridiculous skew shooting, whatever it happens to be next. Because I know they broke your long strikes today. So whatever bent shooting unit you happen to land on next, Jack, you'll be just fine.
And it really creates a rock paper scissors situation.
Yeah. I agree. Very much so. Like, you look at these three, and it absolutely is a sort of rock, paper, scissors situation.
Because shooting does really well against bounty hunters.
But
because
really
bounty
poorly
hunter
against the heavy GV strat.
Right, a heavy GV
Because they
strat,
just have
right?
hordes of big units that are hard to remove.
Right. Where shooting is going to pick off all of your GV within, like, a turn.
Yep. Right. So this is in my world, this is the three strats that armies drive toward as being winning strats.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
okay. Battle plans. We're behind, but we're all right. We're not that far behind. We got to catch up a little.
So
here.
we're just going to skip over battle plans.
Yeah, we're not doing that. Okay. All right. Let's do this. The Prize of Gallet. I'm gonna summarize these. I'll leave these on the screen for a second, and then we'll go to the things. Here's my summary. Standard scoring, the neat, good 5 objective setup, nice territory. The trick is those 5 objectives aren't active. Each turn, at the start of the battle round, the player who takes the second turn picks one of the objectives and activates it, and that's the only one that can be fought over. Once it's active, it remains active for the rest of the game. Okay? And let's just get right to it. I love this thing. We're going to do a good, bad judgment. This is great. It's the best battle plan in the pack. Simple, easy to measure deployment. 5 objectives. Limited ability to score in round 1. Incentive to produce a longer game. No bad things I can pick of note. It's fun. It's interesting. No big advantage for any of the 3 strats. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Tourney readiness on this one, 10 out of 10 for me, should be in every pack. It's a huge win.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler? Tom?
Yep. Agreed.
I mean, this was just all good. Like, it's great to start on such a high note.
It's the most obvious, excellent mission in the pack.
Yep. It's fantastic. Love it. More of this thing, please. Like, do more like this. This is good.
Yeah. Really does
Awesome.
tend to promote longer games in my experience so far. So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. I love this. Gareth said it's his favorite as well. Yeah, I mean, it's just good. This is when you get a good battle plan, you can see it, and this is a good one. All right, the Realmstone Cache. So this one is a very small deployment territory, but again, pretty simple. What happens here is in the first 2 battle rounds, this center objective is the only one that exists. There is one objective on the battlefield in battle rounds 1 and 2. At the start of round 3, it explodes. Okay. This one gets removed. And then you roll a die. And on a 1 to 2, I'm just going to point at the screen like you can see my freaking hands. On a 1 to 2, it goes here and here. On a 3 to 4, it goes here and here. On a 5 to 6, it goes here and here. We're not using the corners anymore, which is neat. We actually have one sitting in the middle of the line, so that's fun. So I guess that's just supposed to be the dead middle of the line, though they don't bother to provide measurements for this, because apparently writing a number of inches on a map is anathema to their layout studio. But anyways, yeah, it's this. Here's my notes on this one. You get your take. I'm sorry to blow through these like this, but we gotta move. So I'm just gonna.
You roll one dice. I don't know if you said
one
that.
Die.
Vince.
Yeah. It's just one die and then they go.
Both.
Yeah, because so they're always in a line, right? Like they're like this, or like this, or like this. That one die determines both places. Okay. Cool. Simple, easy to measure deployment. It's a big change in the game in round 3. Talk about a fun, suspenseful roll of the die. Very interesting interactions with Proving Ground, because like in the first turn, the person could choose to pick Proving Ground on that only one objective and then not. And if they do, they burn it. And then round 2, suddenly there's nothing. You can't Proving Ground anything, right? And then round 3 and 4, you burn it and burn it. And then round 5, there's no Proving Ground. So it's kind of interesting how it interacts with that. Very small deployment area. Could actually be a challenge to fit some armies in there if there's terrain on the board, like and faction terrain or something like that. Like I'm thinking like a big Beasts of Chaos army or something, you know, where they've got their herdstone and maybe they're at a tournament where some big piece of terrain is nosing into their deployment zone. And suddenly it's like, oh, geez, do they even have room to fit all of their stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So that's potentially of concern. Other potential bad is this might lead to a scrum in the middle for the first 2 rounds, or the alpha bunkering potential. Like if you're a super alpha bunkering army, hardcore Fire Slayer stacker, you could just be like, yep, I'll take first. I'm out there. Here's my chaff lines. I'm bunkered in. Everything's good. Everything's under the thing. For the first 2 rounds, I'm going to score 4 points. You're going to score 2. That's how this works. Deal with it. And by the time we get to round 3, I'm 4 points up on you. And then when it explodes, I'm just going to retreat my entire army back to mine. Like if it explodes on one of the angles, I'm going to retreat my entire army that's left back to my one thing and just hold it. And I need to do nothing else. And I'll just go 3 per round and you'll go 3 per round and I win because I was up by 4 in round 1 and 2. Weaker for the shooting strat, could be strong for EC. Like for the EC strat.
Oh, expert conference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they might have the ability to, like, if you're playing again like the bounty hunters versus the heavy GV strat, they might just be able to march in and take it away from you and still have their non-GV chaff to hold you up, right? Like they might just be able to pile enough people on there that like there's no world where you can kill enough of them to get it. Right? So
Yeah.
Why did your sound just change, Tyler? Why do I hear background noise now? What did you do?
I have no idea. I didn't do anything.
Did you click a button? All right. There you go. Okay, good.
Fix it. No.
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay.
All right. What else have we got? What else on this one? This one's a 7 out of 10 for me. It's good. I like it. It's fun.
Yeah, I think my main concern is the alpha bunkering potential, but I need to actually see it, get some games in with some real armies that can do that and see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's going to be a bunch of alternative strats on a lot of these, and I think that both of those, that would be alpha bunkering would be a viable one if you're built correctly.
Right.
Yeah. And obviously there's like, yes, Gary, we did mention that. You don't have to nominate a proving ground. Yes, absolutely. It is an optional can. I think most of the time you will, but you don't always have to. So, like, if it ever comes to where there's just no way to win, you like, oh, the only one I can nominate is the one that's bad for me, you just skip it. You just don't do it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Battle lines drawn. You'll notice the stunning lack of objectives in this one, because in this one, it uses this box deployment, which I quite like, this corner-to-corner deployment. And I like this because it's easy to draw, easy to set up. I'm big on deployment setup, by the way. I know I keep hammering on this, and the two of you were like, when we did a couple pre-show meetings about this, so we had to get this tight. And I don't think my co-host care as much about deployment setups as I do, but I really care about it because I hate sitting while rocking up to a table and having to take 15 minutes to figure out the freaking deployment lines. It's a
Tom and
really
I
important waste of
use
time.
sticks.
It's fine. We just have pre-measured sticks,
stick.
and I just put dice real quick.
I have sticks everywhere too. That's still time. And I bet if I walk behind your stupid face with a stupid clock, you'd be shocked at how much time you lose. And a lot of people push for 2 hour 45 rounds, nothing like making it 2.5 before you even set a unit on the table. Okay? Like, I'm sorry, did we want to finish games? I thought we did. I thought we were trying to play 5-round games.
Hey,
so wasting time on nonsensical crap seems bad. It's pretty straightforward.
I haven't went to time in a year.
You're not the norm. Okay.
I'll just be quiet over here so.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, Tyler did. No, I take that back. There was a game at Adepticon that I went to time at.
Sure. Tyler may not be as speedy on the stick here. I'm just saying, Tyler, you should value every minute. All right. In this battle, each table quarter is an objective, and the quarter counts as an objective for everything wholly within that quarter, including grand strats, battle tactics, abilities, so on and so forth. This also has this rule called confined caverns. Units cannot be removed from the battlefield with an elect that would allow them to be set up later. So, in shortest terms, no teleportation. None. 0 teleportation. So I don't like this one very much. It is a simple, easy to measure deployment. Neat usage of table quarters is cool. And it interacts very interestingly with Proving Ground. In that you're choosing whole table quarters. Basically, there's like 4 objectives as the quarters. The bad in my mind is, do we really need more scenarios that shut off army rules? Like, look, I know some people don't care about this. There's probably some of you out there in the chat right now who are like, whatever, suck it, no teleport, who cares? But like, Sylvaneth just got their new book, and they got a new cool ability to like strike and fade to remove themselves from teleport. There's a sub-faction that's completely dedicated to that. And it's like, great, what a wonderful time. You wanted to play your Spite Rev army. You're excited because they finally leaned into it and let you do cool things with your Spite Revenants. And then you rock up to this scenario and it's like, hey, you know all those allegiance abilities you got? Put them in the bin. You get nothing. You get nothing. And you'll like it. Like, how terrible.
For one game.
Cool, enjoy losing that game. How fun. How fun to have 1 out of the 5 games that you just basically can't win. What a great time. And like, I understand, of course you could win, blah, 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 blah. Shut up. You know what I mean? Like,
restriction breeds innovation. Is that not right, Vince?
If you love list building and you're a Johnny, sure. But if you're Timmy or somebody who really just wants to play the list you like, not for any power reason, it really sucks to show up at a game and just lose a bunch of your allegiance abilities. Yeah, no null holes, those turn off. Like, isn't it great when you have 3 spells and one of them is a teleport and your army ability is to teleport and that all shuts off? Isn't that fun? Isn't that fun for you? It
impacts Night Hunt as well.
Yeah, like I hope you didn't decide to play like the Dreadblade Harrow Boatman army. Enjoy having dead units on the table.
No, you just don't. Your Boatman just hits things. It's fine. He does good damage.
What a great use of that guy for his points.
Like he's a great beater.
Sure. Okay. Caradron ships. Yeah, the entire KO Air Force shuts off. Yeah, exactly.
I think I need to see this play out with some of these armies we're talking about. I think there's a chance that it will be, in Warhammer Weekly terms, it'll be fine.
It'll be fine.
I get what you're saying, though, from first principles. I love the basic concept of
I'll tell you why it's not, because you're going to build around this, both of you.
Yeah.
If this shows up in packs all the time, you would just build around this.
Yeah, that's fine.
Of course you would. That's not how most people think. And that's the problem. Okay. You're sitting from a place of luxury where you love list building and you love being Johnnies and you have enough forces or armies or wherewithal to collect whatever you end up needing to put those on the table. That's not most people. Like, I'm sorry to get angry about this and be the defender of these people, but like, some people just want to play what they want to play. Yeah. And it really sucks for them to show up and have potentially now 2 scenarios that kick them in the teeth. That's not fun.
I feel very put in my place, Tom. What about you?
It's fine.
Okay.
They'll lose it. You know what?
They were going to lose games anyways, is what you're going to say, Tom. Yeah, I got it. Very nice comment. But my point
I didn't say that. I'm going to go on record as saying that did not come out of my mouth.
Like at a deeper level, imagine the army where you're playing something where you don't have reserves, because you can still reserve in off this. Like it does still allow reserves to show up. Okay. Right. But like, imagine you have an army where you just, and there are armies like this. There are plenty of armies like this where they have very limited reserves. Okay. And you get paired up against, like, whether you have teleports or not, by the way, let's just forget that for a second. Okay. But you get paired up against like an Alpha Nurgle Air Force, who then Alpha blocks you into your quarter. That's your whole game. You lose. You lose instantly. Turn one, they drop, they pop, you lose. End.
That's maybe the biggest abomination in the game right now, in my opinion. Completely antithetical to that entire book and how that book is supposed to play. So, but yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, that will be a thing. But anyway, I do love the concept of this, right? Like I think the bones are really good. Maybe we need some better layers on top of the bones. Better, yeah.
Yeah, my problem is totally in this stupid, like, teleport rule that just didn't need to be there to make the scenario interesting. Like, it was a perfectly viable, cut that rule, this is a better scenario. Right?
I do wonder the playtesting if they didn't have it there and they decided to add it.
What's interesting here is, like, the table quarters as objectives is actually a really cool incentive for the expert strat, for the Galatian veterans. It actually makes them very powerful in the meta if this is showing up, because they can just, be dropped in anywhere and suddenly go, whoa, what just happened? Why is the stream all weird? That was weird. Okay. That was strange. So like they can just be dropped in and suddenly like take a quarter. It's really good incentive for the expert strat. And I like that. I want more incentive for them. Right? That's my actual big problem with it. That's why I rated this like tournament readiness 5 out of 10. Because it's almost a good scenario. It's got this one rule that's just terrible. Right? Like your late game or early game reserving and stuff like that, it matters a lot. And you can just capture in really interesting ways. There's a lot of trading that could happen. Yeah. And that would be really fun if that kind of interactivity was there.
Or it just privileges certain armies that have that ability to pick up and put units anywhere in turn 5.
You're not
so like you're picking winners, right? Either way, you're going to pick winners. If you allow people to teleport, then you're picking those armies
that have a strong advantage.
To have a strong advantage. Yeah. And so like at the same time,
I'm better with that though, Tom. I'm better with that than the reverse. Because everybody still gets to play with list their builders.
Yeah, but then the list builders who have built specifically for this are just going to win, and there's no hope on the other side, right?
Potentially, sure. Like again, it's not as much the loss. It's not only do you lose, you don't get to play with any of your army rules. You lose twice in this world. In that world, I still feel like I'm playing a game. I still do stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
We can move on. Yeah, this it's a fascinating mission to kind of talk through, and yeah, we should come back to it another time. I think it's
All right, lurkers, the dwellers below. Shout out to our dwellers below friends down in Australia. The worst mission in this battle pack, so that's exciting. From the tops to the bottoms. So deployment. Wholly within your territory. Fine. Plays lengthwise. Already hate it. Conquers momentum. This is so wild. In this battle, you must control the objective on the border of your territory before you can contest the center. In addition, you must control the center before you can contest the opponents. And Deadly Denizens objectives cannot be controlled in the first battle round, except they can, because they didn't block off the pre-game control of objectives. Okay. So as long as you've got somebody within 6 inches of the one on the border of your territory, which there's no reason you wouldn't, you will control, blue will control blues and red will control reds at the start of the game. However, you can't gain control of the middle in round 1 because then it ticks over into round 1 and Deadly Denizens takes over.
Right.
Okay. So, nor can anybody take anything from you. Right? Like, they can't take yours from you in round 1 because they can't control or contest or control yours.
Right.
Right? So, And it's a tug of war. It's tug of war along this line, right? Good. I have written here error 404. I couldn't find anything I like about this. Here's all the bad. It's lengthwise deployment. The objectives you can't capture start as captured. No incentive to move forward in any way around 1. It's a scrum in the middle only. You don't need deck chair sitters. Because if you control the middle one, move your whole army up there.
Right.
There's
because
no reason
you
to
can't
protect your back
actually
objective. Lose it.
Yeah, right. You can't lose the back objective ever. Right.
Right. They could put a million bajillion Galatian veterans and expert conquerors back there and have 800 capture power to your 0. They just can't take it.
Right.
Right. And it has an instant lose condition in the 3rd battle round. By the way, I didn't mention that, but that's also how this works. If you control all 3 in the 3rd battle round, game over. Otherwise, that's the only way you get a major. Otherwise, it's one of those minor loss things. So it's like the classic knife to the heart or whatever, right?
Yep. Yep.
This also has very weird interactions with Proving Ground because of the nature of how these objectives just get like locked off. Most of the time, you're just Proving Ground things that don't matter or aren't actually in play.
Well, by turn 3, everything has been Proving Ground.
Assuming someone chose every round, and it's very possible those all got burnt on literally objectives that couldn't even be potentially captured.
Right. Right.
Right? There are just a multitude of problems here. Either you have a massive scrum in the middle for 5 rounds. Okay. Just like, because that's where all the fight happens. And you just slowly lose.
So this would be much more interesting if it were 9 objectives.
Or like something like that. If it were moving across, or 6, right? You could see it 6 as like the cross pattern as well. Sure.
Right.
Sure. And it's just bad all around. Like, this is a 1 out of 10 for me. I think this is definitely my least favorite in the whole pack. I think this is a badly written scenario.
Do you have a sense of this one, Tom? I haven't played it yet.
I mean, what it says to me is that you just need to jam everything into the middle. And then hope like the enemy doesn't have like a lore seeker.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, the lore, like as per how the rules are written now, the lore seeker is like the ultimate cheat button on this scenario too.
Yeah, that lore seeker's like I'm gonna take the middle and I'm gonna cheat the rules and good luck.
Yeah, because right now there is some, by the way, I don't want to get into a deep rules discussion, but like we did a big review of, you can look at 18.1.1 and 18.1.2. The text is unclear. Pre-game, there's no contesting. Contesting only happens during the game because they never wrote the rules with the concept that there would be contesting pre-game.
Right.
And all this stuff. So, like, there is some gray area there. There needs an FAQ on top of all this being bad. But yes, it's just like...
Because as read, what looks like it happens is the Lore Seeker drops. You get both objectives before the game starts. Before turn 1 starts. And then you just push your entire army up on the middle.
And notably, they can't take the middle one back from you in the first round, even if they kill the Lore Seeker, because they can't control objectives, yeah.
Right. And so then, like, everybody's in the middle, and you're in the in-point position, and, like, they have to guard theirs. If you have 2, they have to guard theirs, because you can take theirs from them.
Right.
And so they have to actually stay there and bunker that position, so they can't actually overextend into the middle, otherwise you could jump them.
Right.
And so, like, it's a super dangerous thing if there's a Lore Seeker on the table.
Well, it's good that the best scenario for LRL is the worst scenario in the pack. How on brand for them. All right. In the presence of idols, Tyler, you got to play this one. I haven't played this one yet. Again, the box-to-box, corner-to-corner deployment, good deployment. I really like the objective setup in this, where they're like counter to the sort of X pattern. Yeah. I quite like this a lot.
That basic pattern, guys, I mean, this might be obvious too, but before Game of Heroes was done with War Code, I didn't appreciate how that objective placement, how does it pull you apart and you play across the entire board. I played that setup last night with Nurgle, and I did not enjoy it with Nurgle.
Even the little thing, like one of the objectives is actually 11 inches from you, but 15 inches from your opponent, and one of the objectives is 15 inches from you, but 11 inches from your opponent. Just little things like that. I really like this setup a lot.
It creates very subtle natural incentives to go certain directions.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way this one works is we've got this weird gamified thing where after deployment, but before determining who will take the first turn, each player picks 3 different friendly units. Any unit can be a hero, can be a monster, can be a unit, can be anything.
Yep.
to be idols. The units each player picks are their idle units for the battle, have the number of models that flee due to a failed battle shock test rounding down, while their units wholly within 6 inches of any idle units in their army. Okay, extra rules we didn't need. This is the definition of. Like, you could have just said these are your idle units, because that's like, what a silly thing to have to remember and measure in all of this for the times it happens. But because the actual meat of this happens in the each enemy idle unit destroyed by a friendly idle unit is 1 VP. That's
right.
Where
what like this plays wonderfully though into the like take and hold strat.
Yeah.
Because the Conqueror strat, because like you're just going to pick your big block units that are already going to be super meaty, right? And super defensive. And now those are the units that they need to try to remove, and now they're halved battle shock already. Like, it's just like, yeah.
Right. It's so good things, nice setup, easy deployment, good objective spread, really forces people to fight in different areas of the board. Bad, lots of potential tracking around the idol for minimal benefits with that like battle shock thing. It's a hat on a hat. It didn't need to be there. The victory points already were telling me why I cared, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It does very heavily reward idle hammer bounty hunters a lot, like dragons and stuff who are already straight killers and go in bounty hunters, and then you make them idols, and now they're going to get like bonus points when they kill enemy stuff, right?
Yep.
It also rewards ranged idols. So like if you've sent some Marathian, the bow snakes is still okay. Obviously your bow snakes are going to obviously be your hot pick, and they're just going to point click kill 3 idle units for 3 victory points, right? Like boom, boom, boom. Like, why wouldn't you? Because you don't have to kill them in melee to get the bonus points. You just need to kill them.
Right.
So the execution here lacks. I think this is the good bones of a scenario with a nice map and one silly rule that probably isn't executed as well as it could be. It does power the shooting strat. I'm a 5 out of 10. Maybe I'm a little more generous. Maybe a 6 out of 10 on this one.
Yeah.
I
don't
could go
hate
either
it.
way. Yeah.
I don't hate it.
I think maybe I could honestly move this to a 6 out of 10 after having thought about it for a week or so. Tyler, you played this. What's your feeling?
Yeah. I told you guys this to me as a rich man, survival of the fittest, because it's got better map, better objective placement. There's a limitation on the idols. You have to pick them on the battlefield. So what used to be 6 long strikes, you can't put them off the battlefield and have them be an idol, right?
Right.
To be on them. So that's a little bit of a healthy limitation, I think, all else equal. Yeah, I'm a 6 to 7 out of 10, maybe a 7 out of 10. I mean, it is unfortunate. The value, of course, is a lot of value still in ranged output with something like this with the bonus point. So, but yeah, no, I think it's pretty solid. I could definitely see it showing up in a lot of tournaments.
Yep. I think I'm ready to move this one to 6. I agree. There we go. A little better. I wouldn't be totally fair to it. Okay. The Nidus Paths. The second worst setup in this entire mission pack. We'll get to the one that's somehow even worse. And the battlefield has 4 little tunnels called Nidus Paths. You can see it here, A and B. Effectively, everybody's Skaven now. Congratulations, you can teleport between your Nidus holes. That's what's going on. Other than that, it's 4 objectives, standard cap. Okay. Nice objective spread that pulls enemies apart in an interesting way. I love the box objectives. Again, you were talking about the 3 versus the starting zones. I really like the box 4 objectives a lot on what it makes you do with your armies. Using the good scoring. There's no wacky points runs. It's just good old fashioned 4 objectives. Hold 1, hold 2, hold more. Like, solid.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the worst deployments maths. It's only necessary when the only reason I rated this one 6 when really I wanted it to be a 7 was because I have no idea what to think about those Nidus Paths. I just don't know how that's going to play, and it created a big question mark in my mind. Like, will people use it at all? Will people just camp it? Does it overvalue the armies that can afford to just like park 1 deck chair sitter unit behind it? Does it punish armies that can't? I don't know. My feeling is this one's like 6 pushing 7 out of 10. I think this is good for bounty hunters especially if they can start, because it can make them more mobile. If the paths are open, they can use them to get around and get at even other things they want. So, yeah.
I did. This was the one I played last night, and one key thing is the Nidus Paths trigger at the end of the movement phase, right? So you can move to them. So that values mobility. and that definitely stood out. Shadow
Like
Queen.
I said, you're all Skaven now. This is what we've been doing for a long time. You run and you
Totally.
jump in the hole.
Right. Shadow Queen, 14-inch move, cool. Pop in the Nidus Path. Come out of the other Nidus Path, +1 a charge, 8 with a reroll. It's pretty scary. So yeah, there's going to be situations like that where you're really going to feel it. It definitely values mobility, but it felt to me like a 7. Like,
Okay.
I can see
Yeah, I
the
can see
Nidus
that.
Path, but there's some counterplay with it. Yeah, with deck, with just hanging out, turning it off, particularly early games. So yeah, I liked it. It was intriguing.
Okay. Yeah, my general feeling on this one is if this showed up in a tournament path, I wouldn't be like, ugh.
No,
Other
I mean
than-
it'll be fine. Most armies won't be able to really take advantage of the Nidus paths. I like some of the play with ranged units, like teleporting ranged units through them. That actually creates some interesting situations where it pushes people away from the Nidus paths, because even short range shooting becomes threatening when the 10, 12-inch shooting, if they can pop out 9 and then immediately open fire and charge. So I don't know. I think that I don't know. I think I like this more than most scenarios in the pack. That's what I would say.
Cool. Yeah, like I said, it's one of the more positive ones. It's in the positive pack.
Yeah.
Positive pack.
You go like a teleport, a range unitom to that then, so it's kind of like a chain teleport, right? Like translocation, your adjudicators, whatever, put them there. Now they're set up to potentially then do another teleport to get out of dodge later on the next. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Why are all the Galatian veteran favoring scenarios so bad? Okay, the mighty and the cunning. Here we go. 4 objectives across the middle line. Good deployment. I like the objectives. I like the deployment. When I first flipped the scenario, I was like, oh, I'm going to like this one. I looked at the scoring section only and was like, oh, yeah, I'm definitely going to like this one. And then I read the on their terms and I was like, oh, no, I hate this one. Okay. It's amazing how fast it flipped. In this battle, the same objective can be picked as the proving ground more than once per battle. Okay. Fine. Neat. That alone probably would have been a good incentive toward the power of Galatian veterans, right?
Yep.
However, then we decided that was too much for the Galatian veterans, so we said shatter their strength and made it anti-GV. You score 2 victory points each time an enemy Galatian veterans unit is destroyed. Score 1 additional victory point if that enemy Galatians veteran unit was contesting an objective when it was destroyed, which is what it's going to be doing most of the time. That is wild. 3 VPs for killing that unit. Okay. This just became a pure bounty hunter scenario. Right? Period. Taking GVs into this scenario is instant suicide on the scoring. Sorry. Good deployment, nice objective spread, but lots of focus on killing GV. Very bad points runs are possible. If you face a bounty hunter heavy force with controlled GV, right, little to none, or highly protected, good lord. You're just gonna be like, click, 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 dead.
Yeah, I mean, what I would say is but what we see, across all of the scenarios is that there is a diversity of favored strats across them.
Sure.
And so I think that this may actually diversify winnings even more, just because there are some scenarios that favor hunters versus some scenarios that favor conquerors, which with some scenarios that favor shooting strats. And so I actually think that there will be some sorting just from assuming that there's your 5 scenarios you have are balanced amongst those. I actually think that some of this that de-incentivizes conqueror strats can actually be a good thing.
Sure, it's that's why I still gave it a 5 out of 10 as opposed to where I wanted to put it, which was honestly lower. But man, there are going to be blowouts in this game.
Yeah.
There just will be. The army that I'm putting together that I'll probably take to NashCon, I'm telling you right now, is going to be a bounty hunters thing. Okay. And
weird. I can't imagine. I'm probably going to be taking a conquerors list.
It's fine. I can't wait to meet some GV heavy strat. Honestly, if this scenario should not be in there, David, if you're listening, don't put this in there. But it would be super good for me, and I'm telling you not to do it. Because I would love to meet some GV heavy army on this thing and just be like, oh, I'll enjoy my 12 free VP. Here we go. Let's do this. That's a lot. Right? And I agree with you, though. It is, that's why we put in here, what do these lean toward? Like, what's better for expert conquerors? What's better for bounty hunters? What's better for the shooting strat? Because it is relevant. You're not wrong, right? Like, in the end, you would want a mix of all of these across like a tournament or something, right?
Which, by the way, this is just a wonderful case for David's format.
Sure, of the two list format.
Two list format, because when you get to something like this, you can be like, whoop, I'm in Conqueror strat. Whoop, and just jump around based on what the stronger build is going to be.
Now, that being said, I don't think it's untenable. Like I said, it's still a 5 out of 10 for me, right? Which puts it in the average category. I don't want to feel like I'm bagging it more than I should be.
Yeah.
Like, I think it still has some play.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's just we look at the two buckets of incentives for and against, with, again, going back to the yin-yang of the two core battalions, and it's certainly feeling like at the start here, we have more on the side for bounty hunters.
Than for
and that we don't necessarily need this to be against the expert conquerors. At least that's my initial temperature. So yeah, it seems like probably a bad scenario in that regard, but we'll see. I like Tom's point though. We've got it. If we need a 4 mission like 4 expert conquerors mission like this in a tournament to help balance it, cool, we've got it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is actually helping expert conquerors, but I take what you mean. I knew what you meant. If we need a helping bounty hunter.
Willy Wonka moment.
You're good. Strike that, reverse it.
Reverse
it.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Corbin said, like, Skaven can probably just plop their 60 to 120 clan rats in the middle, only 2 GV with something like Stormfiend Battleline, and you're most likely not getting those points. Oh, I'll get those points. I'll pick up those points real easy. I play clan rats a lot. They die in bucket loads. It's super easy to pick them up, especially when I'm bringing in 4 damage fulminators. They'll get there. They'll get there, don't worry. Okay. Head-on collision. Again, box, but this time going straight across with the objectives. In this battle, objectives cannot be controlled in the first battle round. And this time they added the extra text. So, like, it's the same named ability. Did they just forget the text in the other one? I don't know. Maybe it'll be FAQ'd. I hope so. But players do not gain control of objectives after setup is complete. Core Rules 18.1.1. Great stuff. And this one is sort of the newest take on the 1, 2, 4, right? Where it's yours is worth 1 to you, it's worth 4 to them, the middle one's worth 2 in general, and the opponent's is worth 1 to them or 4 to you, right? And this one has a minor bonus where you gain control of an objective this turn, and there are any friendly Galatian veterans units within 6 inches of that objective, they gain 1 VP. Right? You have to gain control of the objective this turn, so just sitting the GV unit there and camping does not keep ticking a point. It's only when you gain control. Now, the GV doesn't have to gain control, they just have to be near. Okay.
Yep.
And I like this one. I played head-on collision. And it was a great time. Like, this was really fun. The setup was fun. The incentives back and forth were fun. You got a good incentive to, like, push into their territory. The only bad is the sometimes potential swing of these 1, 2, 4 scenarios that, if it's really close and then somebody, like, nabs yours for even a round and then you recover, it can sometimes go out of your reach to get it. But that's always been the case with 1, 2, 4s. That isn't necessarily a bad thing. That can kind of make it a fun thing, because it's playing around with, like, how you have to protect, and it's skill testing, and things like that you want tournaments or battle plans to do. I like that the Galatian veterans is only when you gain control, so it's constrained. It's there. It incentivizes expert conquerors, but it's not overwhelming.
Right.
It's good.
I was gonna say we had a lot of debate events about whether with Battle for the Pass to put that at 3 victory points instead of the 4.
Sure.
To potentially try that out. But anyway, just a little side note, in terms of that structure. Yeah, I really like this one. Yeah.
As do I. This is 7 out of 10. I could even move this up to an 8 out of 10. But, like, I like this one a lot. It was fun to play. Had a great time with my opponent. It ended up being a close game. It was, New Skaven versus New Sylvaneth, and we had a grand old time. It was really, really good. Tom?
Yeah, I like it. Yeah. I'm a fan.
I hope this one shows up in tournaments.
I think it'll lead to a lot of good games.
I agree. And I like that this one actually does incentivize EC in the right way.
Yeah.
Right? This is a good EC scenario.
Do you say the Deadly Denizens rule that objectives cannot be controlled first battle round?
Yeah. I did, yes.
I think that's a nice little touch.
It is. it's cool. It's fun. It did make for interesting things where people were positioning in various ways. We were doing some. My Skaven just said, okay, if I can't control anything, I'm going to kill everything he has. I went in hard on just alpha striking him. All right. Cool. Won't back down. So again, this very strong lengthwise meat to meat deployment. Oh boy. Okay, rally points. So 6 objectives. They're just everywhere. In this battle, if a player uses the rally command and the unit that receives the command is wholly within 6 inches of an objective they control, when they roll a dice for a slain model from that unit, they can return 1 slain model on a 5-up. If that unit is Galatian veterans, they return 1 slain model on a 4-up.
Womp, womp,
So
womp.
your entire army can rally on 5s and 4s.
So that's good for Conqueror builds, but not good for Hunter builds. And like, this is my point, right?
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
that, like, yeah, some of them are going to incentivize certain play styles. Some of them are incentivizing other, and if that's mixed in a pack, that should be okay.
Yeah, it conceptually, I agree with you completely. My issue with this one is, one, I think it can over bonus backline shooters.
Sure.
Okay.
Just charge them. It's fine.
Sure. And I think 4+ rally, like I said, is like a third rail that should be extremely constrained, and just handing it out to like whole forces. I'm like, my God, this game is already slow enough. And now we're just gonna like all these, like, the reason I say backline shooters is because, of course, then if people pick on your units, you can just boost them back up, and if you have hard enough shooting, you can be you target the things that you know you're gonna actually kill, right? Like you focus fire.
Yep.
Like the rally bonus on this is too big. Is ultimately what I come to, right? It's just I really like. I rated this one a 3 out of 10 because I am scared of what this would do to round times. Is what it comes down to.
I mean, it's fine because, like, if you're in combat with the unit, they can't rally. It requires a retreat, and then it's fine.
Sure. I mean, it's a lot of just the whole thing. Like, a unit almost dies, then it comes back to just incredibly full. If you rally twice in a row, you restore 75-ish, 60-ish
Yeah,
percent.
I understand. I do.
It's a lot.
Yep.
I mean, it's obvious. I think it's a lot better if you just make it a 5-up on veterans. Like, I would really happily play this mission.
Yeah, like that would feel like enough to me. It's honestly just going to the 4. Like that. Woof. It's what scares me about this. Like, I just
but better
feel like
better watch out for those grots. That's all I'm saying.
I guess indeed. So like I agree with you, Gareth. I fall down with. It's funny how similar. I think Gareth and I have very similar tastes when it comes to battle plans. I like all I see with this is tons of dice rolling, and units just constantly being restored back up to full.
No, like if you hit a unit, you have to remove a unit. Like that. Like that's what this says.
Sure. Sure. Which then favors either a shooting or a combo shooting bounty hunter strategy.
Sure. Guess what?
And this was supposed to be the EC bonus strat.
No. Or a mass troop conqueror, or a mass troop conquerors list, where you just can't get through their bodies enough for them to retreat and regen.
If you can make the right list. Right. You can make, and like, sure, if you're Night Haunt, I agree with you. That which is how you're the lens you're looking through this on.
Of course I am. Yeah.
But that's not like, they are one of the few that can actually run that strat so hard in that direction.
Right. But what I'm saying is if you don't do that, they don't have a viable play style because they can't play hunters. Like that. Like that's my concern, is that they don't have shooting. So like I'm trying to keep all of our books viable, and that requires which requires some of those armies to play into the Conqueror strat.
Totally fair. Which I agree. I like the ones that I feel like actually I want to see EC favored battle plans. I actually want to see more of them. I wish the ones that are supposed to actually did.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying. Like, yeah, Phoenix Guard would be the other big pick, right? Obviously, that's another. They're a hot EC choice. Fear the Brutes though with your Phoenix Guard. Fear the Brutes.
I mean, that said, those Phoenix Guard might just lift the Brutes.
I wouldn't. Always bet on Brutes. Okay, the Silk Steel Nests. 8 objectives. It's back, baby. 8 objectives. Okay. Pillaging objectives. It's objective pillage, and it has all the right rules on it. That's what I'll say. Like, you can only burn 1. You have to be close to burn it. You can't pillage more than 1 per turn, and has to be 1 you control and in your opponent's territory. It's all the good rules you would want on pillaging. So it's not like I burn 8 objectives, I win the game. It's none of that crap, right? Then we have this other silly rule that's a hat on a hat that didn't need to be here. Scuttling Horrors. After an objective has been pillaged before it is removed from play, the player whose turn is taking place must roll 2d6 for each unit within 9 inches of the pillaged objective. If the roll is equal to or greater than the bravery characteristic of that unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. Okay. There are so, like, I don't like this so much, and it's so close to a good rule is what bothers me even more. First of all, I do enjoy that Scuttling Horrors is just an improved cacophonic choir. I'm glad that random spiders are more powerful than my Greater Demon's classic spell.
Not random spiders, the table.
Yeah, the table has beat by the spellcasting of my Greater Demon. Great for that. Love the 8 objectives. Good, always challenging and interesting. Love an 8 objective scenario. I do think it does really interesting things like list building and stuff like that. Has the appropriate limitations on burning objectives. Great. The bad is the stupid spider attack. And before, I'm going to jump in here before Doug's like, the spider attack is cool. I can hear him already over in Iowa. Okay. I agree with you, Doug. Narratively, the spider attack is cool. He didn't even say he said it yet, but I'm just guessing. The reason I hate it is because it's 2d6 against bravery. Why? Why is that what it is? When armies like Gitz and BOC and Skaven just naturally get to take a bunch of mortal wounds for like no reason. But like Death Armies and Starborn Seraphon and everybody else who's bravery 10 in this stupid game just get to ignore that. They'll just remove and pillage and take no damage basically ever. Why wouldn't it just be on a 4-up, the unit takes a d3 mortal wounds? Why did we need to bring extra tests into this? Because then I don't have to like know the bravery of every unit. Okay, wait, what's this one? Did I get it or not? No, otherwise it'd just be 4 yes or no, 4 yes or no, 4 yes or no. It's faster, easier, smoother. Oh, Doug didn't like it. I misguessed. All right, well, good. I'm glad, Doug. All right. Like, that was all this had to be written, and then it would have been a perfectly fine little fun kickback on the pillaging. That's it. It's one stupid thing away from being like, it would have been a 9 out of 10 for me had it just been a 4-up. Okay.
Yeah, excellent mission. This is, I think, Scorched Earth 2018, somewhere around there. And yeah, it's got all the, yeah, you said everything. Talk about this one. Yeah, 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10. Really good.
Yeah, it's still good. It doesn't really favor any of the strats. It's a pretty neutral scenario. I will say something like EC, if it favors any of them, it would be Expert Conquerors, just because of the sheer number of objectives. So like, Tom, if we're talking about like soft EC incentives, this would be the one I'd pick, right? Because stuff like people who have good mobile EC and stuff like that, with 8 objectives, there's always somewhere to go.
Sure.
Right? And that makes them very threatening and powerful. So that's good. I like that. This would be the one I'd include if I wanted to really like be favoring the EC some. Like Nighthaunt riding along with the Boatman love this when they can just show up and be like, hey guys, we're here now.
Yeah, this is mine now.
This is mine now. The ghosts are here. All right, close to the chest. It has this thing going on, I guess.
Beautiful. So beautiful.
It's awful. All right. Alpha objective. What was the old version of this? Forcing the hand. Is that right?
Forcing the hand. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's old. It's new. Forcing the hand, where at the start of each player's turn, the opposing player picks one of their own objectives to be the alpha, and if you control their alpha objective, you get a bonus VP. So they're picking the one. Obviously, they're going to pick the one they think is the hardest for you to get. If you get it, you get a bonus VP. Okay. Good. Works really well with Proving Ground, 6 objectives, blah, blah, blah. Bound, I found my new worst deployment. This is the worst. Just the worst. Like, my God, if you like to take forever just laying out dice and measuring weird 9-inch distances, this is it, boys. This is it. Here we go. It combines all the worst of lengthwise with all of the measuring. It's great. It's like they magically found the worst deployment map in the world.
All right, sorry, Tom. I'm going to agree with him on this one. This is why we didn't do this kind of style. We had something very similar to this when we started out with Word Coda, and that's why we didn't do it, because it was just a little too crazy with the map.
Fine.
Now, that being said,
you can hit it's fine or something.
It's fine.
Yeah, that being said, despite the bad deployment zone, I still gave this a 6 out of 10 because I do think it's still a good scenario. It's 6 objectives. It plays well with the core strats. It's good. Like, it pulls people apart. It works in interesting ways. The deployment sucks to set up, but it does allow for some really interesting deployment choices, which is, I think, what Tom likes. And I do agree with him on that. So, yeah, 6 out of 10. I wouldn't, like... I can put up with this for one round. Just please don't do this and the other terrible one. Somebody asked me why don't I like lengthwise deployment, because tournament organizers still like to put tables, even in a post-COVID world, butt to butt, meaning it's impossible. I have to walk like all the way around a row of tables or something like that
to get to half of your deployment area. Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It depends on your venue as to whether this is viable in an event setting.
Yeah, and even if I have the whole space to move around the table easily, I still don't love just constantly walking around to my opponent's side of the table and standing next to them and being like, hold on, I gotta move all my dudes. Like, it's just, I don't know, it's just weird.
Right. So for what it's worth, I told you guys, this was the version that we started with in terms of the alpha objective, right? What we were calling the battleground in War Coda, where you laid out how it works. And that led to a lot of situations where it's just too easy to deny your opponent scoring that extra victory point. You've got 3 objectives you can choose from every turn, right? So that's why we switched it to where, you pick one of your 3
and that's
for the start of the first battle round. That's it. I think that's really interesting. You could potentially alpha strike against it. It just opens up a lot more intriguing plays. So, I would have loved to seen that. But other than that, pretty good.
Agree. Quickly here, keep track of 6 objectives. 1 is special, 1 is proving ground. All are important, and none is where you want to be. Doug.
That's great.
Absolutely right, Doug. Absolutely right. Okay, and then our last one. We got to keep moving. Turf War. Again, lengthwise deployment. They just love playing with that lengthwise deployment in this one, don't they? Stop it. Okay. So, 2 objectives. No reserves. So, hey, it's back. If you loved Total Commitment and all of its incarnations, it's back. And then claustrophobic killing ground. Summon units cannot choose your chart in the... Switch that around.
Go on.
Well, they probably can't do that either. They can't shoot or charge. That is a very fun thing I just did. In the turn in which they were added to your army. Okay. So... yeah, bad for all the reasons I said bad before. I mean, good scoring on 2 model objectives. Like, it's always fun to see 2 pretty distant from each other. But I think we've kind of learned our land with it. Rule with this, with duality of death.
Duality of death. Yeah.
Where it was bad, and then let's go ahead and ruin more allegiance abilities. This very much incentivizes high value and ranged power because you go move to one objective and then just shoot into them from that one. That becomes your new firing platform.
It's your new castle. Yeah.
Right. You just build a castle around one of the objectives and then just shoot them off and send out your expeditionary force. Like, that's what you do.
Well,
it just rotates and you fight like this.
It's nice that the shooting army has a strat.
Yeah.
that favors them.
Yeah, well, there's a couple that we've said that favor shooting.
Right.
Here. But yes, like, this is a 2 out of 10 for me. I hate this. I've hated this in every incarnation. They keep writing it. I'll keep hating it. I don't know what else to say.
Yep.
That's it. So, just don't use it, please. That's it. It's that easy.
Really.
It combines all the worst elements of those previous ones by banning allegiance abilities with, honestly, a pretty bad setup.
Yeah.
That's not going to lead to interesting games.
You don't need the mobility anyways.
Yeah. It just won't lead to interesting games. That's the problem.
Right.
Okay. All right. Endless spells. My God, I don't know how we're going to get through this. Okay. All right.
What if we should skip scenarios?
Spells. I mean, it's fine. Because we can hit the endless spells fast and hard. This is actually going to be a quick section. Here we go. Horrorghast. 40 points. Other than a corner case build, still not worth it.
What are you talking about?
I'm sorry. There's just too many ways. Go ahead. Go.
No, I disagree. No, I think that It is a great tool that will help you lift units, and at only 40 points, it's an easy inclusion for me.
Okay, cool. You have to build around this. Okay.
No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. Like I had it used to get Jeremy used it against me, and I've seen multiple Team USA players use it, and it's been effective every single time.
Emma was using it in her Nurgle.
Emma used it in her Nurgle. Jeremy used it in his Soul Blight. No, it is a good endless spell that is super underrated.
Okay, I accept your stance on it. I mean, we're seeing a lot of erosion of immunity to battle shock stuff. It will be of varying value, is what I'll say. But but against some of the big armies, they don't have a lot of ways anymore to become battle shock immune, which is a fair point. Okay. Funny combination with the other things that make you flee more. I will say that.
Yes, like corn.
Yeah, like
corn with Horghast makes me giggle now.
Yeah. Okay. Aether Void Pendulum, 40 points. Nope. That's a nope for me. Still doesn't do enough damage. Still doesn't have enough range. It still only moves like 8 and 8. It's an 8 setup and an 8 move, and on a 2-up, it's D3 mortals to some units. It's like the best damaging one, and it's still not damaging enough that I'm gonna take it. Any disagreement?
Nope.
It still moves on a straight line, by the way, too, which is just walk away from it.
Just walk.
Chronomatic Cogs. Is this the most busted one in the new version? Maybe. Cogs is broken again. I don't know how we keep doing this, but here we are again.
Castles
40 points.
Go!
Yeah, this is wild. Like, this needs to be nerfed straight away. I would love to see this nerfed on Saturday. Thank you, frankly. So mechanisms of time. If you increase the flow of 40 points. If you increase the flow of time, everybody within 12 inches rerolls charges. I'm fine. Probably okay. If you decrease the flow of time, then you can reroll all casting rolls for all wizards wholly within 12 inches of this endless spell. Why do we keep resetting this to every wizard gets all of these bonuses? Every time it changes, it goes back to just every wizard in a massive bubble.
Isn't it obvious? It's resetting time.
Yeah, Cogs just keeps resetting time. Yeah, exactly. Back to it. Obviously, that's too good. I don't know why we would think it wasn't for 40 points. That is insanity. That is straight insanity.
That's pretty good. That's all I'm saying.
Yep.
Way too good for 40 points.
Makes me want to take it.
I'm sure it does. Either move this to like 90 points.
Make it 100 points and let's talk.
No.
Yeah, and by the way, people would still take it.
No,
people would still take it.
60 to 80 points is, I think, perfectly reasonable for it.
You're out of your mind. You're out of your mind.
She's still definitely too cheap. I could see 80.
Yeah, like, or just
I get,
fix this the right way.
The differential value is the issue. Like, some armies are really going to get enormous value, and some armies like, oh, cool, I can get one reroll.
No, but like you can get rid of it in your for heroic action.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's not a high cast. Like, you're just going to list
sure,
it.
you can just get rid of it when it's back bunkered in their thing where they've got all their casters sitting and they're all at the 12-inch line. Yeah, okay. No. Fix this the right way. Make it one caster.
I see this and I'm like, let me introduce you to Terminexes. You know, like for AoE bomb stuff. Like, here, you're going to cast that? Cool. I'm just going to send a purple sun your way.
I like the idea of yes, thank you. Hugo said, like, people paid 140 for blue scribes for just this ability. Shut up, Tom. It's not. It's way too good. If I'm okay with it being one caster gets to reroll everything, because that would actually be a neat buff to like Nagash, who gets unfairly beat up by miscasts right now.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
And like that's still perfectly viable for him.
Yeah.
Okay. But it should be one wizard. That's the correct fix. Just like we fixed it every time we fixed it. So fix it again.
Yeah.
All right. Emerald Life Swarm, 60 points. It got fixed so it doesn't double tap. It'll now only heals when it moves.
Junk.
Still fine.
Not worth it.
Of course. If the anchor pricing is strong with this one. It's still perfectly fine. It's a green button for armies that don't have a green button. It still heals D3. 60 points is the correct pointing for it. It's fine.
I could see, we could quibble over points, but yeah, maybe 50, but yeah.
Sure. It's fine. Geminids.
Pretty good for 40.
Yeah, it's not bad for 40, I'll say. It's okay. Like, after the spell is moved, You roll a dice for each unit that has any enemy models that pass across and everybody within an inch of it. On a 2+, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. In addition, if a mortal wound caused by this ability is allocated to a unit not negated, they cannot issue or receive commands until the start of the next combat phase. So, neat. It can stop people from all of their, move, shoot, charge combat things. It does have to resolve that mortal wound, which isn't always guaranteed, of course, right? Lots of people have mortal wound protection. It's okay at 40. I think it's probably, honestly, it's probably fine.
I think it's great.
Yeah. 5 out of 10.
It's great. It's great anti-shooting tech. And anti, teleporting tech for...
I mean, we'll talk about the anti-shooting tech in a minute, but sure, it's fine.
Sure.
It is an interesting way to, stop, unleash, right?
Yeah.
Or stuff like that.
It's a great go-to in Nurgle as well.
Yeah, because, stops redeploy away from you. It's fine.
Because Nurgle can spread disease using Geminids too, with both bases.
Sure. Yeah. Like I said, I'm not saying it's bad. I think it's fine. I think you'll see it in some lists who can capitalize on it.
Yep.
It's
stopping redeploy is a good point. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Malevolent Maelstrom, 50 points. I wouldn't pay 10 for it, so skip.
Oh.
Next.
Move on.
Literally, this thing was 10 points at some point in time, and nobody took it. It still basically does the same thing, and now it's 50 points.
No, it's changed, because it used to give you another unbind. Now it doesn't do that.
Yeah, I understand. It's somehow worse, and yet more expensive. Prismatic Palisade. Big old change here. All right, 40 points. Units within 6 inches of this endless spell cannot make shooting attacks. Add 3 inches to the range of this ability at the start of each battle round after the turn it was summoned. Cast on a 5, so fairly easy to get rid of if you need to in the next turn.
It's useless.
I would not say that. It's also a way to stop Unleash in a more guaranteed way. With the other way, with stopping Unleash, I have to roll a 2 up. I have to then, the Mortal Wound has to resolve. With this, if I just plant the Palisade next to the unit, they don't Unleash.
Sure.
That's what happens. I just charge into them without fear. Which is actually how I see it being used. It is an offensive weapon now more than a defensive weapon.
Yeah.
Right? But it is very short range. You gotta have your caster fairly near them to pull that trick, right? Mm-hmm. That's the only challenge. But yeah, it's super interesting. I mean, people will certainly burn here's what I'll say. If you just plant this in their army... people will start burning casts real fast to get rid of this. That is definitely true.
Yeah.
Okay. Purple Son of Shaiish, 70 points. And this thing's going to be showing up a lot.
Hello, friend. It's been a while.
Summons within 8, flies 8. Subtract 1 from save rolls for attacks that target units within 6 inches of this end of the spell. Could have stopped there, and you probably would have seen this at 70 points.
I don't think so.
-1 to saves in a pretty big bubble is
but
not bad.
Unless you're Night Haunt, it's hitting you too.
I understand. Well, not really. I've used this in my game. I was able to very easily manipulate this so it was only hitting my enemy. Every turn. It also summons on an 8, which means you need a 9 to get rid of this stupid thing. So it's actually quite hard to unstick once it's on the board. So if you have power casters that can push this out, let's say I'm just going to give a completely imaginary scenario. Let's say you've got a caster that can super easily go to +4. Okay? Just I'm throwing stuff out. Maybe he's a tiny rat on top of a bigger rat. All right?
Sure. Nice hypothetical.
Just completely hypothetical. It's super easy to power this bad boy out there and then just watch it roll. Because, it's just going to stick. It's just the dice are against this unless they have big bonuses to dispel.
Right.
In addition, though, however, roll a dice for each unit within 3 inches of this endless spell after it has moved. On a 1, one model from that unit is slain.
Hey, Nagash. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, anybody who doesn't have insta-slain protection, so Mega Gargants, Marathi, and so on, you roll the 1, they're in the bin.
Zip.
Now, units obviously generally don't care. If they're super elite units, it's sucky, but it's whatever, right? If you've got 30 chain rasps, it's like, who gives? Oh no, one of my chain rasps died. He'll be back in a second. Don't worry, right?
Yep.
However, if you have, let's just imagine another trick. Let's say that same caster with all those wild bonuses. Now, again, this is completely hypothetical, Tom. Let's say they could start from outside of unbind range and easily, on a completely low number that's also casting almost automatically, be teleported to within 6 inches of the enemy, to 6 inches away from the enemy, or something like that. Okay,
weird.
or 9 inches away from the enemy, or something.
Can't imagine. Sure.
Now let's say they could just wheel this down the enemy's line with their cast, and then after they do that, at the end of the phase, they could just leave and teleport back to their lines. So they're in no risk, and now the purple sun is in the middle of their lines. And then let's just say that army also had a lot of shooting attacks, where then that sun has now careened through their line, potentially killing a bunch of heroes and units, or hurting units.
Yeah.
And now it's just sitting there making their entire army neg 1 to save, and then you just open all guns weapons free.
Yeah.
Okay? If that was possible, it would be crazy.
KO are going to be so scary.
Thank you for understanding exactly who I'm talking about.
But the problem is that KO can't actually control it. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because the way the spell in the bottle was ruled,
right?
KO can't actually move it. Like, they don't have control of it.
It'll go one turn. They can drop it, and you get your initial move.
Right.
But yes, then it goes wild immediately.
Yes.
If this were just one unit that you can roll that, you get one shot, one unit, roll a 1, bye bye.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are excited about this, and then they're gonna play it and realize that there's a reason we got rid of the roll 1 die, and on a 1 in 6 chance you bin your entire unit. I think we're gonna very quickly find that people don't like this very much.
It's fine. It's fine.
I played this so this is one I did use this in my game. I wheeled it right through my enemy lines. It sat there the whole game wheeling around. I rolled poorly. Like, there was a round where I rolled 3 2s. Those could have just as statistically likely been 3 1s, and that would have just rinsed my entire enemy army. Right? He would have been like, well, okay, game over. That's it. Done. Because of 3 dice rolls. Right? Now I took Lady O and put her in the bin right away, which, boy, my opponent was super thrilled with that. Loved having that model that he really liked just in the bin. She's just gone. No saves, no nothing. 1 dice. No interaction. No attempt to do anything. Just gone.
Sounds like she should have unbound it.
Well, she tried, but it turns out rolling a 9 is hard, even for Lady Olander. So I am sus on this.
I mean, you should always be able to throw at least 2 sets of dice, like, after it initially goes down, right? Because you'll throw a set to try to stop it from going down at the start of the next hero phase before it moves a second time.
Well, yeah, it'll get 1 move for it, yes. And so, like, you never cast it from your own lines. You're going to cast it from next.
But what I'm saying is that you're, like, a smart player will have zoned, going to limit the number of hit units that this thing's actually going to get into.
Sure. I get you, but even 2 shots at rolling a 9 is not super high, as anybody who's rerolled 9-inch charges will tell you.
I understand.
But, like, it's, I don't know what to think of it. I think that people are excited. I think it's going to show up in a ton of lists, and I think in the end, people are going to be like, I'm not sure we actually like this. That's the arc I see here.
Maybe.
Like, a lot of casual Timmies are going to be like, this was not fun. I played it, I thought it would be fun, and then I got hit with it, and it wasn't fun.
Sure.
Ow, do not like.
Yeah. Okay. Quicksilver Swords, pretty good now for 60 points. It's actually decent. Roll 12 dice. Every 5+ is a mortal wound that can't be negated. Pretty cool.
Yep.
Decent. So, shorter range, but okay. It's there you go. It's fine.
It's not going to do what people are talking about it doing against Marathi. That's not going to be how that's going to work.
No, obviously that's not how it works. Yes, of course not.
Let's move on.
That'll all be fixed, of course. I can't believe we don't have that FAQ yet, but here we are. Ravenak's Gnashing Jaw is super interesting. Casts out 8 inches, moves 3d6, and obviously can fly. After the sentence spell is moved, pick 1 unit that has any models it passed across, or that is within an inch of it, but it's only 1 unit. On a 2-up, if the roll for this endless spell's move was greater than that unit's move characteristic, it suffers a number of mortal wounds equal to the difference between that unit's move characteristic and the roll for that endless spell. So the answer here is sometimes quite actually good and will do more mortal wounds than almost anything else, any other endless spell. Like, let's say you're going into Blight Kings or Gits or something like that. You know what I mean? Because you're testing against their move characteristic on 3d6. But against many armies, it will be often worthless and do nothing because they move 8, 10, 12, and fly. And
you're also going to fail on a 1-up even when you roll that really good move.
Yeah, sure. So, like, I'm sus of Ravanax. I know a lot of people are pretty excited for it. I think it's fun.
I think at 40, I would consider it. At 60, get out of here.
Yeah, I think it's fun, but it's not going to, like, there's too many armies that have too much high speed. Yep. Where there's like 8 to 10 to 12 inch movement is a pretty common movement in the game. And even on 3d6, you're just not getting a huge amount of value out of that.
Right.
Like, against move 10, your average is 0 mortal wounds.
Right. Yeah. Right. Against move, like, 10... Geminid is doing more damage.
Yeah, sure. Sure. Absolutely. Soul Snare Shackles, they basically do what they did. The problem is it's a very short range. So you've got to basically shackle yourself. You know, you can walk away from it after you cast it, but you do have to set it up in hyper short range. 50 points. I don't think you'll see it much because it's too hard to use. You can't like shackle out there at somebody. Yep. It's just, you're basically setting it up very near yourself. So.
Yep.
Suffocating Gravetide, 40 points, big old base, but now with there's more room to actually summon it. You used to have to put this thing like against yourself to fit it in. 8 inches, an 8-inch move. After the spell is moved, for each unit that has any models it passed across, roll a number of dice equal to the number of models in that unit. For each 6, that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. I don't hate Suffocating Gravetide. It's a little horde thinner. But I don't hate it. For 40 points, I like a horde thinner for 40.
The base is so huge, so you will never get over a unit. You will always just bump up and then have to move back. That's the only way you do damage against units, because you just don't have enough mobility with the size of base that thing is. I've painted one, I've run one. It's literally like that.
It's a huge base. But I don't hate it for that same reason. It also can take up some good board space and kind of block people who have to walk around it. And it's a little horde thinner.
I'm pretty sure you can walk through them now, right?
They're still models. They're still friendly models. You can fly over the top of them. You can walk around them, all that kind of stuff.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you walk through them? I can't
somebody was talking about it in the Fire Slayer chat, and I think that may have changed with the 3.0 core rules.
I'll have to go look.
Yeah.
I'll look at it. You can't block. Whatever. It's fine.
Yes,
you're probably right. I think you might be right.
I think that's right. Anyways, yeah, I think
it's still. I think you can move through them, but it's still space on the board, right? Like they can't occupy the same space as what ultimately I'm trying to come down to. Yes. And the Burning Head is almost the same as it was. It's 20 points. It's the difference is it was. So you throw it forward, roll a dice for each unit within 3 inches. So good little radius on this bad boy.
Yeah.
On a 2+, that unit suffers D3 mortals. After this endless spell causes any mortal wounds with this ability is removed from play. The key being, if you don't roll the 2 up, to cause the mortal wounds, it doesn't.
Stays. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yes, you can walk through them, but you can't finish a move. Okay, good. There we go. Clarified. Right on.
Awesome little endless spell for 20 points.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, great. Burning Head's
a nice inclusion.
All right. Oh, good. We got this thing happening. Boop. 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 Sorry, got to do this here. There we go. We have our little spam person in here. That's fun.
Another one, Tom, obviously with Nurgle for chip damage with putting disease up, and then Miasma Pestilence.
For who? For who?
Nurgle.
Burning Head. For Burning Head, it doesn't stick around during the movement phase. So the problem is that it's not actually because it pops.
Right.
Yeah, so, it only will if you roll the 1. Then it would stick around.
Okay. So Miasma Pestilence would be the.
Okay, let's keep moving. Got to keep going. Umbral Spell Portal, 70 points. It does what Spell Portal does. Yep, it's still Spell Portal.
Yep.
Okay. And then Soul Scream Bridge. The big change here is 24 inches now on the bridge. Longer range. Other than that, it's still a unit, takes the bridge, and ends up on the other side. Okay. Still good. You'll still see it in the appropriate armies that want to move a unit around to drop and pop. Shards of Valagar, 50 points. Tom, would you like to defend Shards of Valagar as being useful in anything other than Nurgle?
No.
Okay, cool. I didn't think so. That's
No,
the one where it's interesting.
A lot of people think that shards is great for like stopping teleports and like Manfred and stuff like that. The challenge is that it's going to be easy to unbind.
Right.
Like you'd have to use it offensively, where you put it down, hit Manfred with it, and then charge him and lift him. That's the only time you're going to be able to do it.
Mm.
Right.
And it's too much of a gamble. I'd rather just flip it around and ping a bunch of people for disease with it.
Sure. And finally, our big winner, Lunchbox the Soul Seeker. Oh, Lunchbox. He is in like Flynn, this guy. You're going to see this dude all over the place. Lunchbox, you've always been my favorite. I've been a long time Lunchbox player.
You know what I want to see the conversion of? I want to see somebody do. I heard some folks at ACO talking about this. Use All Rock. Do a conversion with All Rock with the Lunchbox. Yeah, this is how good of a model it is. Yeah.
So basically, before the commanding player moves to send the spell, they can pick one friendly wizard wholly within 3. So it has to be a small based wizard because they have to be wholly within. You can't move your big wizards like your big base.
Unfortunately, you can't use this on a Ragnarok. That was my first go-to.
Yeah, it's obviously way bigger. Okay. Yeah. Remove that wizard from the battlefield after the send the spell is moved. Set that wizard up again, wholly within 3. So you can it is more than 18 inches. The wizard can travel because he could be on the back side and then flip to the front side. So it's end up going to be 21-ish or 22 inches, varied.
Yep.
And more than 9 inches away from all enemy units. After that wizard has been set up, it suffers 1 mortal wound. That wizard can make a normal move or run in the following movement phase. So yes, you can move after Launchin takes you on his little boat ride. So this guy's good. He's incredible for 30 points. Yes,
so here's the question. Mm-hmm. Here's the question. Who is your favorite hero?
Thankful.
To pair him with.
Thankful. I already said it. For reasons I just talked about in that hypothetical. Like,
Tyler.
I can wing him forward, and I have 50 ways to teleport back to my lines.
Yeah. Tyler?
Sure. Yeah, think about that for a bit. Got one?
Mine is an arcane tomed Karen Wraith general.
Okay.
Who has the 2-inch reach 5 reroll all hits and wounds. So I'm going to put this guy, find the best spot on the board, shoot him forward, and I don't even give up a tactic anymore when my general dies. Because it's not an actual tactic. And I'm going to put him in the pocket, and he's going to get to chopping. And I'm going to get like 30 attacks, reroll all hits and wounds on Neg 2 Ren. It's going to be great.
About that, Arcane Tome got a number of different options that can open up a lot of things.
The runner-up is the Arcane Tome on a Mega Boss, the Foot Mega Boss, and then let him get stuck in. Yeah,
sure. So he can actually get forward and be using his Mighty Destroyers on people and get in the fight. Sure.
Yeah.
The problem is you had to give him the Tome, so he can't have Destroyer, which is what he actually wants. But yeah, sure, I gotcha.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Points. This will be a quick section, which is good because we don't have a lot of time left.
Yeah.
All right. Points. Ba-boop. Mostly minor to no points changes. No 3.0 tomes had point changes. I originally, when I wrote this, I said it's not clear if any will be included in the free PDF. They weren't, so it is clear now. So there we go. I can delete that little line because no, they are not. As a quick note to everybody, the book, this is wrong. Okay? There are wrong points in here for some armies, namely Skaven.
Do you know what I love about
Sinesh, and a couple others.
Do you know GW just printed? How much money did GW just lose by printing a book that is 100% like it's wrong? Like
sure.
And they had to print point values in a PDF and release them. Here's a financial cost saving measure, GW. Just release them in a PDF.
Yeah, just stop printing that extra little book. We didn't need it.
I could have saved you however many tens of thousands of dollars of printing costs that you just spent.
Yeah.
By just releasing a PDF online.
Right. Most changes are relegated to a few forces, but they are impactful.
That's a free one.
There you go. That's just for you. it's hard to say what points changes should even really be made, as the meta is so completely new here. That's the problem.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So between the battle scroll we got today and this, like, there's so much change right now. There's not a lot of points changes we could reasonably make, right?
Yep.
So things I didn't list: Cities, Beast of Chaos, and Blades of Corn all had some minor moves. I'm not really going to talk about them. Like, they're there. They can sometimes be impactful around the edges of some lists, but like, it's there. The base I'm going to hone in on 3 real quick, which is Lumineth. And the reason I'm hitting on Lumineth is because the Spirit of the Wind, that's not whatever the thing is, he's a leader, which is interesting. And then the Cathalar down 35 points, and the Rune of Petrification down 35 points to 40 points. That Rune of Petrification is a good endless spell. It was just overcaught, like 75, I don't know if I was a buyer, but 40, woof.
Yeah, I made a Lumineth. I was working with Martin on some Lumineth lists, and like my go-to initially was like, well, that rune's definitely in there. Because you know what I love? I love Terminexus. I love the Magmadroth, or the Infernoth. I'm going to put rune in there because it's basically the same effect.
Right. And
I believe
yes, I said that, didn't I, Martin? I said leader, not a hero. I'm pretty sure I said it right. But if I did say it wrong, I apologize.
Is no longer unique, I believe.
Yeah, he's the Marathi's Rend of the new book. Yes, I assume we'll turn him back to unique, but maybe we won't. Maybe he can have magic items now. I don't know. So then yes, Cathalar down, which is a cool thing, and the Rune of Petrification down. So, and also the Cenarian Lightner, which is a model that does not exist, but we know he's 160 points. Guess what, folks? What's the order book coming in the fall? Could it be that, as we predicted, LRL get their book for the year? Who will they face? Probably Tzeentch. Okay, cool. Disciples of Tzeentch. Speaking of a bunch of points changes that enjoy these for the 2 months until you theoretically get your book, because I'm putting hard money on Tzeentch as the Chaos Tome. So I guess enjoy these for a little while. But lots of different points changes around here. Mostly down, a few ups, but mostly down. Yeah, some good changes overall that I hope bring Tzeentch into the conversation again, because since they lost Archeon, they've been basically dead in the water. They are way, way down. They are way in the bottom tier now. It is shocking. So, hopefully this helps. Yes, Uranus, another Lumineth book. Again, get ready for it. It's happening. And my hard pick...
We literally told everybody this was coming.
I've been saying this for months. Months I've been saying it's coming. People don't believe me.
Late summer, early fall.
You wouldn't believe me! Now you do. Okay. So good changes for Tzeentch. And then Slaanesh, I originally had this, because this is the ones in the thing. So there are a lot of points down in Slaanesh. Like a lot. A lot of points down. Everything went down. Good. I screwed up my slide here. There we go. A lot of points down on many units. Okay. Shalaxi Hellbane down 15 points. Hilarious. But lots of 5 and 10ers that don't matter. We need to really hone in on the 4 units that do matter, because this is the real points here that released in the PDF. Bliss Barbs down to 140 out of the stratosphere. Okay, great. Sigvald down to 205. The Prince, the Magnificent One. Whoa.
I've been collecting Slaanesh on the sly from all my tournament winnings the last 6 months or whatever. Yep, and so stonks just all the way down, baby. Yeah, Slaanesh, here we come.
That was a well executed humble brag there. Well done, my friend.
You're
and then the Painbringers down to 120, and the Twin Souls down to 130. I couldn't be happier at those 2 moves. I really like Painbringers and Twin Souls. I thought they were playable. I thought they're perfectly fine units if they would have just come out of the stratosphere on points. They did.
Well, cool. And it's funny, if you look at their original values and where they're at now, we said 20%. If you came down 20%, and so after these multi-stage reductions, we're at that 20% now, and guess what? They feel right.
Yeah.
Amazing how that works.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of other changes were pretty minor here, like the Keeper at 400 is still trash. Gludos going from 475 to 470 is the funniest thing in the universe to me. Is that anything? That's nothing. You've given me, this is nothing. Okay. But Good stuff. The shard speaker went down to 135. That was actually a good move. It wasn't that huge of a move, but it was good. Like as a single caster, price what she was priced at, like 150, was just wild how much she cost. So now she's back to 135, which is better. That's in range for a single caster. We're still paying for the summoning. New book win. Bin all this crap. Bin the summoning out of Slaanesh. Please, please, please stop this from being the summoning army. All right, and we did it. We got to the end. There it is, gentlemen. All right, so that's everything. Obviously, next week we will be talking about Slaanesh. Do not forget to hit like.
No,
I know we had to move through this quickly.
Skaven.
Wow.
We're talking about Skaven next week.
What did I
Wow.
say? Did I say Slaanesh?
Slaanesh.
I'm staring right at it. Next week we'll be talking about Skaven with the one and only Smorgan of AOS List Labs. Thank you for copying. Thank you for stopping me, Tom.
Yep.
Super excited about the new book. There's my spoiler for next week. Not a perfect book, but I'm happy all the same. Skaven will be next week. Sylvaneth will be the week after that.
Yep.
So it's going to be a jam-packed 3 weeks of content. Don't forget to hit like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Come back. We're really excited about these shows. We're going to do some super fun stuff with these books. Tyler, Tom, thank you. This was a run.
Absolutely. Cheers, everybody.
See ya.
We did it. For all of you out there, thank you so much. If there's something we didn't cover, if there's a consequence you think is interesting, if there's something like that, put that down in the chat, in the comments. Tell us what we missed. Tell us what you're excited about or trepidatious about, or what you're thinking about from the GHB. What lists has it got you thinking about? Has it inspired you for a new army? That kind of thing. What do you think the meta is going to look like? Are we right on the 3 strats? Tell us what you think. As always, thank you so much for watching. We really, really appreciate it. And as always, we'll see you next Wednesday.